Greetings, my fellow Americans. This is your President Samuel Ronan speaking, and today is another week of streaming, Taco Tuesday. We've made it. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you all for being a part of the stream and our little growing, thriving community. Again, sorry I wasn't available on Thursday. I was making my debut, and actually, that went quite well. Believe it or not, it's actually quite feasible to reach conservatives, even ones that are extremely MAGA, if you use the right words. Remember when we were talking about moral phrasing? We nailed it. So, we're going to talk about that a little bit today, just to, do some recap stuff. But obviously, we're going to cover a lot of the nonsense that has been happening over the past few days, not least of which, although not the first thing we're going to be talking about, the fact that the Department of Education decided to take all of the medical, education, and social service career fields and make them no longer professional fields. Nursing, social workers, teachers. I think there were some engineers, business degree majors. Okay, fine, I'll give you that. But, the sheer amount. You can't hear me. It's odd. Because the microphone is set up correctly and it is not muted. Well, it wouldn't be a stream if we didn't run into a technical difficulty at least once. I'm not seeing any reason why it wouldn't work. Can you refresh your screen? The mic is on. Desktop audio. No, that should be there. Well, can you hear me now? Ugh. I mean, the desktop audio should be what it always is. I don't think I've actually changed that. Okay, so, moving forward. Hey, it wasn't my technical difficulty for a change. What was I saying? All right, so changing the professional degrees of basically teachers, nurses, and well, let's just call it what it was. Let's just call it what it is. They declassified professional degrees in career fields where women dominate, and that should very much so make you want to question things, especially since a woman is in charge of the Department of Education. You have to further ask yourself, why would the administration allow this, and what purpose could it possibly serve? Obviously, we will cover that at some point today, but just crazy things happening. Not the thing that we are going to cover right away is the bromance, apparently, between Mamdani and Trump. Never would have saw that coming. Definitely did not see that coming. But evidently it did. So let's get started with that, and we will get going.
Congratulations, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Overnight, President Trump lavishing praise on New York City's mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani after months.
I'm sorry. I'm running for Congress. And once I win the primary, and then the general, and then get sworn in, if Trump invites me to the White House, I'm not going to be friendly with him. What possible gain could I have for being friendly with someone that I am diametrically opposed to? That being said, for the campaign, something that I learned, and something that you might want to pick up as well if you're helping candidates in red states, is if your candidate cannot stomach Trump and feels that this administration is fascist, which it is, one way to actually address that concern is to talk about the mandate, right? you can actually separate yourself from Trump and the administration by talking about the mandate, the thing that people actually voted for, which was populism. Yeah, there was a little bit of racism thrown in there, but the mandate majorly consisted of improving healthcare, improving access to jobs, better wages, affordability, so on, right? So as long as you're talking about the mandate and then tying in, your universal programs to that of the military, the military does it for their soldiers, so why couldn't we do it for the American people? That kind of thing, you start to actually resonate with the people in terms of messaging, using words that isn't going to immediately turn people off if you find yourself in a conservative district. So I get why Mamdani might be trying to assuage Trump just to get him off his back from New York City. But if he's going to be the mayor of New York City and he really wants to push back against Trump, such as with kicking ICE out or whatever else, he has that authority as mayor. The governor, I guess, could possibly supersede him, but at that point, we're entering some very gray territory that has never been explored because, well, we've never had to deal with federal agents invading our cities or military deploying in our cities prior to now. So I get why he might be doing it, but I still feel like for the optics of it all, it's hurting Mamdani more than it's helping him. Whether it's to get the administration off his back or not, all he has to do is resist, and he would gain that much more support. But
trading attacks and insults.
I think you're going to have, hopefully, a really great mayor. The better he does, the happier I am.
Just weeks ago, Trump had warned the 34-year-old Democratic socialist would destroy the city. But now the two men smiling, joking, and shaking hands in the Oval Office.
I feel very confident that he can do a very good job. I think he is going to surprise some conservative people, actually.
Mamdani says they focused on the issue that fueled his victory and even drew some Trump voters, the cost of living.
The 8.5 million people who call our city their home, who are struggling to afford life in the most expensive city in the United States of America.
For months, Trump branded Mamdani as an extremist, but not anymore.
I met with a man who's a very rational person. I met with a man who really wants to see New York be great again.
Reporters pressing Mamdani.
See, that's what I mean. If you talk about the mandate in terms of what people are worried about, which is cost of living, you can win and appeal to conservative voters in any area, right? And that's something that really needs to be taken away. Our politics, the left versus the right, Democrats versus Republicans, all of that still boils down to your typical things. Wanting healthcare, education, cost of living, and wages, right? If you can take care of those domestic issues, you appeal to your voter base. It's just a question of, can you market yourself with the right messaging and the right tone so that the people that would otherwise support you actually do by not getting immediately turned off by whatever rhetoric you're using, right? So I would say that's at least evidence and proof that MAGA country is quite malleable, that they are open-minded or significantly more open-minded than we have been led to believe. And it's the messaging that matters most, that hits people the hardest, which is cost of living, the pocketbook, finances, money. And if you focus on talking about money and how you're going to make that better for your community or your district or your state, while either running as a candidate or helping a candidate run, I think you have a very good chance of promoting things like universal health care, universal education, universal housing, and even universal wages. You just got to use the right phrasing. Talking about patriotism, talking about the American way, talking about how the country has betrayed the people with these tax initiatives and so on and so forth. As long as you use the moral phrasing, you can, in fact, talk about all the things that we hold near and dear. And I think this meeting is proof of that.
Mamdani on calling Trump a fascist, but in a stunning moment, the president jumping in to help.
Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about...
That's okay. You can just say yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's easier. It's easier than explaining it. I don't mind.
And the billionaire president asked if he'd...
And that scene right there, that that gets me as well. For different reasons. I don't think Trump knows what the meaning of the word is, nor the ramifications of just accepting that phrase to be his. I don't think he gets what's happening. And I think that's one of the many reasons why he needs to be removed from office. We can talk about all the criminal activities he's done, which is worthy of impeachment. But I also think his faculties aren't all there, which is the reason why the 25th exists. So either which way, there is definitely reasons to have him removed, and sooner the better. And yes, I know people are going to say, well, what about J.D. Vance? What if he appoints Marco Rubio as VP? I'm not saying that there won't be other problems with Trump out of office, but I am saying that without Trump, the whole MAGA groupthink goes out the window, and the stranglehold that this administration has on our country goes out the window as well. I think the problem is they found somebody to be their figurehead who also was aging. What they should have done is elevated somebody like J.D. Vance, Ted Cruz, or Marco Rubio to be the figurehead of MAGA rather than it be Trump, because they're young enough that they could have, retained their cognitive abilities, but that means they could have also stayed in power for decades if that was the goal for them. So as far as a fascist takeover, I think they messed up by making an aging person the figurehead, but, to that end, the Zoran Mamdani and President Trump thing, that's just, it is what it is. What's crazy, though, is that in this very next video, AOC and Zoran bend
Democratic Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries is
challenging Hakeem Jeffries in the primary. So, he's willing to be buddy-buddy with Trump, but he's not willing to primary an objectively bad congressperson. Or is he a senator? I actually don't even remember at this point. All I know is that Hakeem Jeffries is awful. And Zoran ran on policies and a platform that is the exact opposite of Hakeem Jeffries, and yet him and AOC are trying to back the drowning establishment DNC candidates, the ones that have been there, the establishment, the ones that are directly responsible for many of the country's ills right now. Right, so now all of them are against primarying any of the corporate Dems, which again hasn't made sense since as long as I've been in politics, and probably longer than. So it is what it is, right? Furthermore, I'm finding it harder and harder to reconcile the fact that Zoran Mamdani, the same guy that I met a couple years ago, is now mayor of New York City, because he was not the kind of inspirational, forward-fighting figure that you would expect a mayor of New York to be. I'm still wondering how his rise came to be. How did he get primed to become New York City mayor? How, if he had this much capability in the state representatives, why was his name not well known? Why wasn't he more of a figure? How did this moment translate from an unknown state representative to mayor of New York to then capitulating to the establishment Democrats and making nice with Donald Trump? How does he go from being a virtual unknown to a key national figure? That's still the whiplash from that is immense. Hakeem Jeffries is the minority leader in the House. Okay. How did both AOC and Zoran get their position? By primarying the establishment candidates, and now they are telling others not to do the same. Yeah, I mean, there is the hypocrisy of it all, too. So, I don't know, is that the concession? Hey, we allowed you to win the mayoral race, so now you got to make sure our people stay in power? That doesn't make sense. Because, what are these establishment Dems even accomplishing? They, literally, that entire shutdown, they got zero of their demands. Not one, not two, not three, zero. The Democrats got zero of their demands put onto the reopening of government bill, which means although they weren't the cause, they effectively are the cause, because if they refuse to reopen the government for so long to demand concessions that never came, then ultimately they did do it for nothing, which ultimately makes them culpable. And Hakeem Jeffries was in the front of that. So I'm not understanding why they need to be protected. I don't know why Chuck Schumer needs to be protected, Hakeem Jeffries, or any of these hacks. But let's see what we have on Breaking Points.
I think a challenge from Chi Osei, who is a city councilor in New York City, who represents Bed-Stuy and parts of Crown Heights. He's also a Democratic socialist, but he is not getting the support of the most prominent Democratic socialists in the city, Zoran Mamdani or Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, to talk about what this means for the Democratic Party. We are joined by Van Lathan, friend of the show and host of Higher Learning, and as people know, man about town. Van, delightful to have you on the program. Finally, we've been talking about doing this. Glad to get you on here, and hope to have you back again soon. But welcome to Breaking Points.
Oh, man, you guys have no idea what it means to be here after having watched you guys for so long, watching Matt.
Okay, quick. You know when news networks like the news, mainstream news, they do their interviews, there's always that pause, that feed, that live feed. And yet somehow on the internet with Zoom, all of a sudden, there's none of that. Correct me if I'm wrong, and I know it's two different technologies. I'm aware of that. I am definitely aware of that. But you would think if Zoom works, why wouldn't you kind of implement better technology, better streaming or audio or video technology so that there is less of a delay? I mean, again, I understand the bandwidth. I understand the technology of it all. I really, truly do. It's just, it's weird to me that this podcast, this YouTube channel is able to communicate more effectively than the $1 trillion news industry. Just, I don't know. All of which is to say, we're not going to listen to
Wall
this.
squirm.
All right, let's do the Mamdani campaign. It was reported that he
Okay,
was
here we
not at the election night party as a result of this. I did not see him there. Can't confirm if he wasn't sneaking around somewhere else. And so right out of the gate, after Mamdani's win, there start to be rumors that he's going to challenge Hakeem Jeffries for the congressional seat in that area. You then get reports that Mamdani doesn't want him to do it, and now you have, and we can put up E1 here. So AOC was asked about this, and she said, she told Axios in a brief interview at the Capitol, quote, not aware that he was challenging, which is kind of crazy because it's been quite public. But she added, I certainly don't think a primary challenge to the leader is a good idea right now.
Are the Democrats seriously using "Dear Leader" rhetoric now too? Like, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sitting in the White House right now. If all of a sudden I become a bastard, I would fully expect you to remove me and not just double down on saying, well, Sam did good at one point. He has great ideas sometimes. That's not enough reason to remove him just because most of the time now he's a piece of garbage. Like, what's wrong with you? Hakeem Jeffries has accomplished nothing. He serves nothing. He stands for nothing. His 25-hour filibuster ended, and then he immediately voted to appoint whoever the hell it was that was being voted on. So, like, the leadership of the Democratic Party is spineless and cowardly and not representing the people, which is why they have the lowest approval rating of any political organization in America, which includes Trump, the president himself. Democrats poll lower than Trump, and Trump is the lowest polling president in history. And the Democrats of today are polling lower than that. So if you're a consultant, if you're DCCC or, I'm getting Cory Booker and him confused. Sorry, it's hard to separate spineless Democrats from each other. I apologize. To my point, all of these consultants, all of these establishment hacks, all of these think tanks continue to say, oh, just be a moderate, just be neoliberal, be moderate, just keep ignoring the people, especially rural Americans, and we'll do fine. And it's like, no, that hasn't been fine since the first Trump administration or the 2016 election. Obviously, or else Hillary would have won the election, right? But no, we had a taste of populism and we haven't gotten rid of it. We don't want to get rid of that taste. We just crave the populism because we don't have social support anymore from our government. And we had two populists, Bernie Sanders and Trump. And the Democrats argued in court that they had the right to bar Bernie Sanders from being the nominee. And they continue to argue that they have the right to rig their own primaries. So why would anybody trust the Democrats? And why do we think leadership within the Democrats is worth protecting if they have lost all of that trust? I don't know. The Dems have messed up so badly. I 100% agree. But hey, let's carry on.
Enormous amount to unpack here. What was your reaction to like AOC and Mamdani telling this challenger Chiose?
Well, I just gave my react, so scroll back.
I'll say that now is not the time.
Couple of things. One, before I even get into it, I want to shout out Chiose's dad, who's passed away, Reggie Ose, Combat Jack, pioneering black hip hop podcaster, maybe the first black hip hop podcast. I remember going on Chi's Wikipedia and seeing that Combat Jack was his dad and going, "Oh my God, man, I knew your father. What the son of a legend." So the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree as far as making an impact. This is what I'd say. I sometimes feel for the average progressive constituent, particularly the young ones, because they have to wake up one day to the sobering reality that all of these people become politicians. They are political operatives and they make deals, right? I need Hakeem Jeffries gone. I need that wing of the centrists. I need him gone. I need him, Schumer, gone. I need people that are clearly anti-genocide and clearly pro-healthcare. My bar is so low right now, guys. I just want you to be clearly anti-genocide and clearly pro. You don't have to go broke because you got cancer. Right?
Reasonable.
That's the bar. That's it. Yeah. Okay. However, in understanding how these things work, I'm sure there's some sort of deal that's been cut between Mamdani and Jeffries in terms of you don't support a primary challenger to me, and I help normalize you to the Democratic centrist elite base. And
to be fair, also on the bar is low. Yeah, I'll grant you that. To be fair, that statement is probably the one that makes the most sense. If AOC and Mamdani don't challenge the establishment won't necessarily try and undercut them. As long as the left wing plays ball with the Democratic establishment, everybody will get along and there won't be a civil war. But I don't know. I just have one of those like personalities where I don't know, something comes over me when somebody tells me to back off, back down, or to sacrifice my morals or my ambitions or my character or my ideals, right? My strongly held beliefs, when people tell me to stand down, I don't know. It doesn't sit well with me, right? So for these two, Mamdani and AOC, to Mamdani doing it within months, within days, let's be honest, of becoming New York City mayor-elect, and AOC, who's been in Congress for several years now, for them to constantly capitulate and not push back at all against the establishment just for the sake of, then they won't primary me. I don't know. Something comes over me. I don't know what it is, but something just does not sit right with me when somebody that I fundamentally disagree with and don't like and diametrically opposed, says, if you don't comply, I'll come for you. Something just in me says, come get me then. I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but I predict that if MAGA don't get something done on the cost of living by July, they are going to lose big in the midterms. Well, that's the thing. The midterms, depending on which state, begins as early as March. So it could be as early as March. Jeffries only endorsed Mamdani very tepidly and just a few days before the election, which is my other point. It's not like there was loyalty. It's not like that was reciprocated, right? Jeffries was like, yeah, I guess I'll support Mamdani. So to go to bat, to just be like, I got you, Jeffrey, makes no sense. Or Hakeem is his first name. I got you, Hakeem. Like, that just does not compute for me. Again, if somebody were to threaten me, I wouldn't take that sitting down. I wouldn't be like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. Oh, let me No, for some reason, I don't have that in me. Oh, you want to fight? You want to tussle? You want to primary me? Well, here's the problem with that. By primarying me, you give me a greater platform. You give me more notoriety, and you give me more visibility in my election. And I'm already elected, so my record speaks for itself on top of that. So please come after me, you dumb motherfuckers. I don't know. So, remember when Zoran got a standing ovation and Hakeem got booed off the stage? Zoran should remember that. He should remember that. And again, Zoran got applauded from an extremely, what's the word? I lost the train of thought right when I was saying it. Sympathetic audience. An extremely sympathetic audience. A predominantly brown and Muslim audience, and he said, I stand with Palestine. Of course he's going to get a standing O, right? But then he was afraid to be seen with other candidates. He wasn't willing to be outspoken. He wasn't willing to post things. Like, he was an extremely timid individual and candidate. Now, sure, looking back 2020, that was him trying to prepare for New York City, not wanting to have any blemishes on his record. But, like, again, that doesn't answer the question, why is he defending the establishment? And second, how did he go from that to the mayor of New York City? It just, it has many questions and way more questions than answers. If Trump's goons are coming after you, you're doing something wrong. Oh, ain't coming after you, you're doing something wrong. Yeah, no, I mean, right. And now he's making niceness with Trump while also defending Hakeem Jeffries, but not supporting a fellow DSA member. That just, again, there's no loyalty. You would think you would be supportive of the same organization that got you to where you are. So why wouldn't you support your fellow DSA candidate? Many questions. Let's watch a little bit more of this and then we'll move on.
And we try to get some things done. So everybody out there that is still looking at AOC and Zoran as crusaders and not politicians that make deals, I think they're going to be continuously disappointed in sort of their stomach for actual revolution. This is not to say that these people are not useful.
I like this guy. Anna. This gentleman's name is not listed here, but we want to get on his podcast. This gentleman right here. So Anna, find out. All right, good.
I'm not saying that at all. This is not to say that they don't represent the politics that we want to see, but they're politicians. So they're going to do some things that are going to disappoint you. And it's better that they do it earlier than at a time when you're really expecting them to come through.
It's an interesting question about Jeffries, too, which is like, is it, if you topple Jeffries, who comes in Jeffries' place? And are they better or worse than Jeffries would be if you're already cutting deals with Jeffries? You could have asked the same question, and AOC had to confront this many times, as Ryan has written about extensively, with Nancy Pelosi. So I guess that's a question in and of itself, is that, I mean, right now is a right moment. So it's tempting, of course, to just go full French Revolution and knock
Yes.
everybody down. But
Yes.
then there's a question,
Oui.
not in that way. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it is a good moment. Like, this is what the Tea Party did to John Boehner. Get rid of.
Yes. And that is actually an extremely important point to make up. The Tea Party is what eventually got us to be MAGA, right? Like, the Tea Party is never talked about anymore because they don't have to be talked about. The Tea Party won. They consolidated into what is now MAGA, or what is now the Republican Party. The Tea Party has succeeded in their takeover. They don't need to stick to the moniker anymore. And what the Tea Party did is, in fact, primary everybody on every, like, the mayor, the dog catcher, school board, judges, sheriffs, county commissioners, the county engineers, auditor, and of course, secretary, state representatives, secretary of state, state senator, all these other positions. The Tea Party primaried everyone for over, or I think, a decade. I think at around that decade mark is when Trump, they finally got their guy. They finally found Trump and got him elected. But the Tea Party was an issue during the Bush era, right? So, like, between 2004 and 2008. And then, so 2006 to 2016, that is a decade. The Tea Party has been pushing that hard for a decade to get the first Trump administration, which then started coalescing into the full Republican Party, which has now become the Trump Party. So, very important point. If the left truly wants to make a difference in our electoral politics, now would be, in fact, the time to primary everybody that claims that they are left. Now would be that time. And it doesn't have to be the leftist Tea Party that does it. That doesn't matter. The moniker doesn't matter. It's the act. Now, sure, the moniker might help the organization of it all. It might improve the identity of it all. But leftists can't agree on anything, right? So if nothing else, primarying establishment Democrats should be the symbol, the clarion call, the flag to follow into battle. So, my hot take on that. They got really crazy when Obama was in office. They were talking about the Tea Party in Norway when I lived there in 2011. Right. No, and that's exactly the point, is that the Tea Party was this big problem, a minority group of the Republican Party back then, but they were the ones that were loud and banging the drums and actually undermined the Obama administration the most. Until Trump finally won, at that point they just got melded into the Republican Party. So, all of that to say, the Tea Party is 100% an example that leftists and progressives should follow. Secondly, Turning Point USA and Turning Point Action are once again doing what the Tea Party did, but using that moniker to rally all of the young people. And it's working. It is scary how well it is working. So again, progressives and leftists are being out-organized by the right again for the second time in roughly 20 years. So we cannot continue this, right? Like, there has, whether it's DSA, whether it's the Orwellians of tomorrow, like, I don't really care. The Cigarinos, I don't know. The Pipers, I don't know. Call the organization whatever you want. But unless progressives start to organize now, again, or for the first time, I guess, it's going to happen a second time, except it's going to be even more fascistic, even more conservative than even the Tea Party movement. So, Trump coercing MTG out was a big deal. She was very popular in her district. No, that is a very big deal. And I don't even think she can, or anybody is even arguing that she's resigning to be a senator candidate. So, yeah, no, the fact that the Republicans also eat their own, and again, if you're a part of the the in crowd and you try to deviate from it, you'll be gobbled up by the in crowd. And since that's your crowd, you don't have even like the establishment or traditional conservatives to fall back on. So, yeah, that was pretty unexpected and probably scary, to say the least. And then they say that we leftists are violent. We've hated MTG for years, and she was not getting credible death threats. We mostly made fun of her, and she broke with Trump, and she had to get security due to the death threats. Case in point. So, back to the video, and then we'll probably move on.
Leadership, but then you get Paul Ryan. So that's a question I think that's probably worth confronting as well with Hakeem Jeffries.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. And once again, this is the difference between someone who's in the inside and someone who's on the outside. No one watches Star Wars and then goes, I wonder who's going to come after the Emperor. We can't do this. Somebody worse might be on the other side of the dark side of the Force. They just go, Emperor gone, movie, we win, right? But when you're inside of the thing, you have to make those political calculations. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of things that you have to think about, but this is what people don't want to believe. What people don't want to believe, and this is the what's running up, or what's sort of...
First of all, he brought up Star Wars, so we're already besties, okay? I'm just throwing that out there.
Meshed in all of this. People don't want to believe that it's business as usual. The thing that people are most afraid of is the business as usual aspect of politics, which is, you know, in 2008, everyone's unemployed, the system looks like it's crumbling, and somebody comes along and says hope and change. And you buy in. You go, all right, hope and change. We are the ones that we have been waiting for. Still the coldest line any politician has ever that's up there with fear itself.
Yeah.
We are the ones that we've been waiting for. You looked at yourself in the mirror. I went, tears streaming down my, I was like, oh, me? Can do this together.
So wait, Obama took that phrase from me too. I can't talk about hope and change, and I can't talk about we are the ones we've been waiting for, because I actually used that line in my speech when I went to the congressional debate. I said that. I said I had been serving in the military, and then the government shut down, and I was faced with the reality that my service was reduced to games in Washington. Who the hell is going to do something about this? And I realized that I could ask this question every day, twice a day, whatever else, and the answer always comes down to, if nobody else is doing it, then I have to, right? So that's kind of nuts to me that Obama ruined that phrase as well, is that you are the ones that you've been waiting for, because I literally use that in my speeches. Damn you, Obama! You bastard. Oh, well, I guess I'm going to be accused of stealing Obama's lines then, because that shit is inspirational as all get out. And that's exactly the kind of language that we do need to be using in speeches or in candidates or in getting people organized, right? It's not I, Samuel Ronan, will solve your problems for you and you can just go back to, you know, watching Supernatural on Netflix before it goes away. No, you are your own hero. You are the one that you've been waiting for. We, the people, are the ones who can make the difference. We are the reason this country exists. We are the reason for the thriving economy. We are the reason why this Constitution and this democracy has lasted for 250 years. We are the answer to our problems. We just need to stand together. That is inspirational as shit. But no, Obama had to take that from us. And then, yeah, Bernie had to say not me, not us. But he's trying to toe the line on Palestine and Israel. So it's just like all of these great leaders tend to disappoint.
And then what do you get? Pew, drone. So like the business as usual thing is what sours people to the belief that we can actually live in a different type of world. And so
correct.
That is kind of what AOC and Mamdani are up against. Is we elected them. They promised a revolution that was worker first, affordability first, and look at them now. They were Hakeem Jeffries, and that is going to be chilling to a lot of people. And
yes.
It's up to them.
Which is, again, why the hell would you make that decision? Optics. The optics of that decision is anathema. That is kryptonite to your revolutionary persona that you convey. Now, that goes back to the point, and we've been saying it since as long as the New York City race was going on, that I do not trust Mamdani to follow through on his promises or his rhetoric. And throughout his campaign, he kept walking back some of the intensity. And now that he's elected, he's walking back some of that intensity and supporting the establishment. It's like, dude, like, talk about grifting. It's disgusting. Like, stand on your business. Isn't that a New Yorker phrase? Stand on business? Like, damn. So.
Last thing I'll say, I'm typically more long-winded than this. You guys are getting the brief version. It's up to them to make it plain to their constituency that that's not what's happening here, although it's a tough sell right now.
It's especially a tough sell because of the history here, which makes it almost even more deflating.
Right. If it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, looks like a duck, it's a duck. So, AOC, Mamdani, supporting Hakeem Jeffries is not revolutionary. I think we can just kind of put that pin on that one. This is not like Nancy Pelosi. She's quitting because she knows her district hates her. Not so with dang it. I finally said it out loud. Every time I see MTG, full disclosure, I have played Magic the Gathering since 2011 during the Eldrazi expansion. I don't play anymore because I can't afford it because that shit's expensive. But every time I see MTG, the only thing I think of is Magic the Gathering, and I finally said it out loud today on stream. Not so with Magic the Gathering, Marjorie Taylor Greene. So anyway. At least we won't have to worry about her acronym anymore because she's no longer going to be relevant in politics once she's fully resigned, and probably a week after that once it's left the news cycle. So, this is actually great news. This is actually hilarious. Doge doesn't exist anymore. As in, the federal government got rid of the Department of Government Efficiency due to lack of efficiency. So, we're definitely going to watch all 1 minute and 43 seconds of this.
U.S. President Donald Trump's Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, doesn't exist anymore. That's according to Office of Personnel Management Director Scott Cooper, who spoke to Reuters earlier this month. The cost-cutting body has seemingly been disbanded with 8 months remaining in its mandate. But
it had 8 months left to go, and it got disbanded anyway? Damn.
These are the first public comments from the Trump administration on the end of DOGE. Cooper told Reuters that it is no longer a, quote, centralized entity. According to him, in documents reviewed by Reuters, the federal government's Human Resources Office has since taken over many of DOGE's functions. Cooper also told Reuters that a government-wide hiring freeze, another hallmark of DOGE, is also over. Set up in January, the agency made dramatic forays across Washington in the early months of Trump's second term to rapidly shrink federal agencies, cut their budgets, or redirect their work to Trump priorities. DOGE claimed to have slashed tens of billions of dollars in expenditures, but outside financial experts could not verify those claims as the unit did not provide detailed public accounting of its work. In an email
I also wanted to point out that the kids that they were showing leaving the offices were an extremely diverse group and not the white supremacist neo-Nazi hackers that we were seeing with Musk in the beginning. So, did they literally just turn that department over to interns that had just applied to be interns with the federal government? It's like, all right, you can do Doge. And then it's kids that have no idea what's going on. And it's like, oh yeah, by the way, you can't do this after all. And then kick them out? Like, what? What do you... Also, the Department of Human Resources is now doing the thing that Doge is doing, which is really on the nose because Human Resources is also what is in charge of firing and layoffs in the private sector. So it's kind of nuts to me that Human Resources, the Department of Human Resources, which already existed, is now doing the job of government efficiency, which they could have or should have or were probably already doing anyway. But because a billionaire gave him $100 million to get elected, he was given carte blanche powers, unconstitutional powers, to dismantle and disrupt congressionally approved federal agencies. And now that department is gone, all of the damage still remains, and the Department of Human Resources is picking up the pieces or burying them. Wild.
To Reuters, White House spokeswoman Liz Huston said, quote, President Trump was given a clear mandate to reduce waste, fraud, and abuse across the federal government, and he continues to actively deliver on that commitment. Elon Musk, who led Doge initially,
how is he leading on that commitment when he literally gave Millet $40 billion? Like, how is that a commitment? Also raising the amount of funding that ICE gets while slashing federal budgets for, I don't know, healthcare and education, and giving billionaires a $3 trillion tax break. And again, billionaires is less than 1,000. Less than 1,000 people in this country are getting a $3 trillion tax break. How is that preventing fraud, waste, and abuse?
Regularly touted his work on his X platform and once brandished a chainsaw to advertise his efforts to cut government jobs. Despite his public feud with Trump in May, Trump administration officials have not openly acknowledged that Doge no longer exists, and Musk has since left Washington. Although President Trump signed an executive order earlier in his term, decreeing that the body would last through July 2026, Trump and his team have nevertheless signaled his demise in public since the summer. In statements to reporters, Trump often refers to Doge in the past tense.
Well, I would say that video was more of a schadenfreude, something that it's like, you know what, fuck you, Elon Musk. And that's funny too. Like, if you go to a Republican Party meeting and you say fuck Trump, you will get shot, right? But if you say fuck Elon Musk, man, you can say that at a DSA meeting, a Democrat meeting, a Republican meeting, a Turning Point USA meeting. Like, this man is universally hated. Elon Musk is reviled across the entire demographic political spectrum. So, you know what? That we need that kind of sunshine, although not the same video, right? All right. Speaking of the Marjorie Taylor Greene's resignation,
we begin with this morning's top story: the abrupt resignation from Congress by one of President Trump's staunchest supporters. In a video posted online last night, Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene says she will step down in early January with a nearly full year left on her term. A special election will take place within 40 days of her departure. This all follows the public fallout Greene's had with the president in recent weeks. In a social media post this morning, President Trump wrote, Greene is resigning because of, quote, plummeting poll numbers. CBS News congressional correspondent Nicole Killian has the story.
I have fought harder than almost any other elected Republican to elect Donald Trump and Republicans to power.
In a surprise announcement Friday night, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene said she will resign rather than face a primary challenger in next year's election.
I do not want...
Again, I'm not understanding this whole fear of a primary challenger. If Marjorie Taylor Greene is as popular as she is in her district, and if she's breaking away from Trump and being still supported by her district, then who the fuck cares if they primary her? Like, I don't understand this fear of, oh no, please don't make me stand on my own morals and values. What? If you got elected from being a hateful blonde lady, you got elected for being a racist sociopath. That's what got you elected. Stick to it, girl. What are they going to do? Challenge you with a white version of you, or a white male version of you? Like, maybe. Okay, I could see that, but who are they going to find in her district? Like, I just, I don't understand this whole fear of being primaried by the new establishment. I don't get it. I cannot wrap my head around it. To me, it's just cowardice. So, like, you had the spine to stand up to Trump on the Epstein files, but you don't have the spine to stand up to Trump generally? Like, your values haven't changed. You haven't turned over a new leaf and start caring about people. So, like, why do you care? Why? I don't get it. And if she loses the primary, how is that different than stepping down? Other than the fact that she would have had that many more weeks or months in office to make potential bills or vote on bills? I don't know. Again, I think it's cowardice. And if she loses her primary, she would still be able to finish her term. Like that's how that works. You don't just lose your primary and then you get yanked out of Congress. No. At the end of your term, January 20th of next year, is when you stop being a congressperson. Like, she has well over a year of time left, and instead she's going to hand it over to somebody else. I don't understand. Right. At least go down fighting. Or making the case for yourself as you end out your term. I don't understand this logic.
My sweet district to have to endure a hurtful and hateful primary against me by the president that we all fought for.
The Georgia Republican has been one of the
So she was like, I don't want to be in a hurtful and hateful primary. Lady, you got elected on being hateful and hurtful. But you can't. So is that what it is? She can dish it up but can't take it? I mean, okay. Whatever, I guess. Speaking of women lying about weird stuff.
Who remembers this guy? Jesse Smollett. He was an actor, claimed he was in Chicago, and he was attacked by a couple of MAGAs who beat him up, tied him up, poured bleach on him, as I recall. And then a court found that he faked that was a staged event. He paid some guys, etc. What I remember most about this case is how people on the right wore the treads off the tires of this thing. I mean, to this day, I will see people, when someone makes a claim about something, say, oh, sounds like a Smollett, right? Just keep that in mind. Allow me to introduce you all to Natalie Green, a 26-year-old law student, used to work for Republican Representative from New Jersey, Jeff Van Drew. And then, not long ago, she was out at a nature preserve like park with a friend around 10:30 at night, I guess hiking, when they were allegedly approached by three men with masks and guns who hit her in the...
Oh, so she was approached by 3 ICE agents. And see, I'm going to say that too, because most of the ICE agents that conduct business, whether during the daytime or at night, are walking around with masks, are walking around armed whilst doing it. And they are defying court orders, governor's orders. They're defying regulation in the whole 9 yards in so doing. And it seems like nobody's willing to take it to the next step by holding them accountable and arresting them for wearing masks and such. So, I mean, if she was allegedly approached by anybody, we could very well just claim, yeah, I think she was attacked by ICE, and she got so much crazy going on that she thought it was an attack by people for her Trump beliefs. I don't think she looks brown, but maybe in this picture she does. Well, actually, maybe it's the earrings, right? Those look rather indigenous, so she's wearing indigenous earrings, and therefore, she should be a victim.
The head. And then it got worse. These men then allegedly hog-tied her with zip ties, took out Sharpies, and wrote stuff on her like a Trump whore, beating her and writing this on her, but it didn't end there. They then proceeded to mutilate her, according to her and her witness, to cut up her face and her arms and her back and her chest, while calling her horrible things for being a fan of Donald Trump. Understandably, people that knew Natalie, people from her hometown, etc., were horrified. Anyone who heard this story would be horrified. Police were horrified. The only thing is, pretty early on, police were like, something seems off here.
They say Green was taken to a hospital where she and her accomplice gave police conflicting accounts of what happened and provided faulty descriptions of the phantom assailants. Black zip ties and duct tape were also found in Green's Maserati the night of the disturbing alleged scheme, and federal officials said her unidentified sidekick searched zip ties near me on their phone 2 days earlier and went to a Ventnor Dollar General to pick them up.
Okay, so the zip ties and duct tape used on her were in her Maserati. And her friend, who was with her and witnessed this, had searched zip ties and found them and went and bought them at a Dollar General just days before. So that's weird. However, remember, this happened to her. Like, this is really, really bad. How do we explain this?
2 days before the alleged phony assault, Green is being accused of having driven to Pennsylvania to pay $500 to a body modification artist she found on Instagram to deliberately carve gruesome wounds into her face, neck, chest, back, and shoulders with a scalpel.
She paid a fetish artist to mutilate her. She paid a fetish artist who does body modification to mutilate her. That shit is leaving scars. She's going to have scars on her face and her arms and her back and her chest to concoct this story to make herself a victim. Allegedly? For what? Donald Trump's attention?
Chat. I don't know what to say to that. I mean, obviously, if it was a fake attack, that means she also had to fake her wounds. But, like, she played the bit that far to actually have... She's unwell. Honestly, I don't... At this point, I didn't know about the scratches and the cuts on her body. That part of the story. I thought the alleged attack was, like, attacked, not actual mutilating herself. I don't think she needs to go to prison. Like, I don't... Like, what she did was clearly, like, a crime, and faking or whatever. This woman needs intensive psychiatric help. Like, call me a tree-hugging liberal if you want. That is a mental health crisis. And she was wealthy enough to be able to pull this off because she was driving a Maserati, and her friend was apparently just as unwell to go along with this. Yikes. She needs therapy and then some. Right, her accomplice is not great either. And then, yes, those wounds, again, I didn't realize that she also got, you know, the wounds. But the fact, I mean, talk about committing to a bit. Like, if you're going to grift and you're willing to mutilate yourself for it, I mean, that's standing on business. Say what you will about Miss Crazy Lady, she stood on that business. I wish Mamdani and AOC had half the business to stand on that this lady did, because that's commitment. That is commitment. That is crazy, but that is commitment. And I want my candidates, my elected officials, to be that crazy for the greater good of Americans. I want them to be that crazy for healthcare, that crazy for education, that crazy for improving the cost of living, lowering cost of housing, and so on and so forth. If you're not that crazy, just then you shouldn't be running for office. I am that crazy. I don't back down. So, I mean, I wouldn't do that. I mean, I wouldn't cut myself to make a point, but I would face all sorts of crazy to stand for what I stand for, which is healthcare, education, wages, cost of living, right? If you're not willing to stand on that business and you can capitulate just because, oh no, somebody's going to primary me, or, oh, the establishment might not give me a lollipop at the next meeting, then you don't need to be in this business. So that was a yikes. That was, I thought it was going to be funny. But that's just scary, like sad scary, like, honey, are you okay? This next one, though, is infuriating, so. Yeah, no, I guess that's my point, Anna. Like, we're crazy. We're willing to do crazy things, but in context, we're willing to do crazy things. All right. So this next video, viewer discretion is advised, but the video after that, it's probably still going to be viewer discretion as advised, but is mildly uplifting. So,
a 22-year-old soldier on Staten Island says he feels betrayed.
Staten Island National Guardsman speaks out after ICE takes stepfather into custody on his way to work. And again, this is hitting everybody. Primarily brown people, though, which is why white people aren't outraged. But I'm telling you, as soon as enough brown people are kidnapped off of the streets and they want to start going after political dissenters or somebody who isn't like gung-ho Trump, it's going to start happening to white people. And at that point, the poem has gotten to you and it's too late. So.
Betrayed by the United States after ICE agents took his
Hold up. Did she? Wait a second. Did she use moral phrasing?
A 22-year-old soldier on Staten Island says he feels betrayed by the United States.
Wow. Good job, ABC 7 New York. Darla Miles. Great work with that moral phrasing. Great job.
After ICE agents took his stepfather into custody earlier this week.
He says his stepfather has no criminal record, and now the U.S. soldier is reaching out to fellow service members and his community as he begs for his stepfather's release.
Eyewitness News reporter Darla Miles is live in Port Richmond with the story. Darla.
Well, Liz and David, the soldier feels betrayed, and so do some of the neighbors we've spoken to here in Port Richmond, Staten Island. This father, he's been in the country for about 2 decades, and they say that he's contributed meaningfully to this community. He was actually at the soldier's graduation on an Army base out of state, but it wasn't until he returned to the streets of Staten Island that he was arrested by the federal government.
I don't like the way the soldier. And also, it's kind of like rape victims. And I hate to say it like that. Why do we only care about women after they're assaulted and then compare them to your daughters, your mothers, your sisters, your whatever else? I don't give a damn if these immigrants aren't productive members of society. I don't give a damn if they are recluses. Honestly, even if they're criminals, they still don't deserve to be taken off the street, kidnapped, and trafficked to some other country, right? Everybody deserves due process, including the guilty in the United States of America. That's what the Constitution is there for. That is what we are supposed to protect and defend and uphold as citizens, and especially as veterans. So, quite frankly, this emphasis that these people being kidnapped off the street by masked, armed individuals is that, well, I don't understand. He was a productive member of society, a good father, a good mother, a good daughter, a good brother, a good student or whatever else. That shouldn't matter. What should matter is that they are getting kidnapped by masked men with guns, by our government.
This is the long, prideful embrace between a father and son back in April, the day this 22-year-old from Staten Island graduated from basic training for the National Guard. Since then, times have changed.
My stepfather, who has raised me for as long as I can remember, and who I consider my...
Not to take away from the seriousness of this video. Why do you have an earring, soldier? That is not authorized. Why do you have an ear? Why would you? Okay.
True father was taken into ICE custody while on his way to work. Early that morning.
That was Tuesday morning around 6:30 when the 41-year-old father of 5 from Mexico was arrested by ICE near the intersection of Castleton and Herberton Avenues.
My sister called me crying to tell me what had happened. In that moment, I felt shock, anger, and disbelief. How could this happen to my father in the same country I proudly serve?
The National Guardsman speaking out Thursday morning, surrounded by support at the La Colmena office in Port Richmond. That's a nonprofit community organization that provides resources for immigrants.
Said there's other families that are going through this and many families that will go through this, So I just want to know that their voice is also important, and just like everyone's here to hear my story, I want everyone else to come forward with their story.
Jesus confirms that his father is undocumented with legal proceedings pending, but says he also has no criminal record.
What's happening at the...
what's also crazy is that he's able to do this while representing the army. I mean, he wasn't in uniform, so I guess he's not violating the Hatch Act. But the fact that this is happening to service members and their families, the fact that, I mean, this isn't even the first service member whose family member got taken, let alone in front of them. In fact, wasn't it a Marine, like, within the first couple of months of this ICE surge? It was a Marine that had his wife taken from him in their own home in front of their children, but then still had the audacity to defend Trump. So it's like, it's not like it's getting better, folks. It's not like they are going after the worst of the worst. They're not. The propaganda isn't matching the news networks, right? The stories that are actually coming to you locally. So the fact that people still buy into this, is crazy because, again, it's not affecting them, right? Ohioans are not witnessing these kind of atrocities. But it is happening in Columbus, in Cincinnati, in Cleveland, in Dayton. The major population centers of Ohio are having ICE raids occur. And Ohioans generally are like, well, I don't know. Yeah, Trump's getting the bad guys. It's like, no, he's not. It's just not making the news. To bring it to your attention that this shit is happening here next to you, that it's happening to your neighbors or your coworkers. Like, do you not remember Anne Frank's diary being hidden in the attic until she was finally caught? Like, this is happening to your friends and neighbors and coworkers. It's happening to whole communities. But because it isn't happening to you specifically, you don't care. And because it's happening against brown people, you applaud it. There's really not much else that can be. Well, and of course, I don't know if we added that to this stream. We'll definitely have it on Thursday. The whole heat map about who makes the white supremacist content on Twitter, it isn't even Americans, except for, on the heat map, the one area where it was bright red, which happened to be Ohio. Like, Ohio, I don't know, man. I'm running for Congress in Ohio, and I'm representing Ohio, but damn, Ohio just, oof. If you're a service member still following Trump's illegal orders after seeing this, you're not a soldier, you're a filthy traitor. And honestly, couldn't say it better myself, to be honest. That's the only GOP borough in New York City. Also, they only borough that Cuomo won. I used to say thank you for your service when I saw a serviceman. Now I just call them what they are, traitors. Well, I won't paint a broad red brush unless they're deployed in a major city. Right? Most people serve their country due to escaping poverty. And that's the other reality. Most of the things that happen in our country is to escape poverty or because of poverty. And most people join the military to escape poverty. I wasn't in poverty, but I wasn't. If I had not enlisted, I would not be where I am today. That is for damn certain. And that's part of the recruiting tool. The part of the recruiting mechanism is when patriotism failed to get recruits, well, let's try impoverishing poor people and sending their sons and daughters off to die for our nation's wars. And now that's not working. Patriotism is also not working because people see the fact that we aren't doing the right thing. And so they're heading towards a crisis of recruiting, and we're actually trying to bring foreign nationals in with the promise of green cards and citizenship, except we're targeting those people on top of it. Which now leaves us with white supremacists who want to kill brown people joining, but are too fat or stupid to actually make the numbers. Which goes back to the crisis of how do you get people to serve their country when you are committing war crimes, when you are betraying your promises, and the poverty is not enough of a motivation anymore. And if they are not actively speaking out against it or actively refusing to follow these illegal orders, you're a traitor. Listen, I would agree with you there. If I was still active duty, I would definitely be doing something similar to this. Even if I wasn't able to run for office, I would definitely be outspoken. And if I had received orders to deploy or do something, I absolutely would have found a way to make a big stink about it. But to your point, I see where you're coming from. I guess I can't expect all 1.6 million service members to go on social media and condemn this administration. In a perfect world, they would, but again, too many of them are worried about backlash and being dishonorably discharged for representing the military in social media without authorization, which is, in fact, a crime. So I get where you're coming from, Steve. I really do. I'm not arguing with that. I understand your emotions, and I even share them. I 100% empathize with that. But there are reasons. There are legitimate reasons why we can't see the response that we would like to see. My dad, who was in the Marines, would have too. My grandfather was in the Navy, would have too. My mom, who was in the Army, would have too. Yeah, no, I agree. And I would like to say that every member of my family who served would have refused the illegal orders too. I would like to think that. So, speaking of ICE and treason...
Thanks for sticking with us at 4:30. I'm Marie Saavedra.
The ICE agents who shot a woman who was exercising her rights to videotape them actually had the charges dropped against her. Now, I don't know what's going to be said here, but I truly hope this woman sues the federal government next, and especially the agent who shot her, because, like, again, we are getting a bit too close for comfort to the secret police being able to open fire on citizens with impunity. That is actually what could have happened had those charges stuck.
Charges have been dropped against a woman shot by Border Patrol agents last month in Brighton Park. Asel Rezai live for us now at the Dirksen Federal Courthouse with more on what we heard from her and her attorney. Asel.
Yeah, Marie, Martinez's family and friends walking out of court today. They were cheering and clapping. Prosecutors saying the case is dismissed and they will not be refiling. What did come up in court, though, Marie, is the fact that the feds are holding on to Martinez's car. They said it's a part of an investigation with a separate U.S. attorney's office. Her attorneys would not clarify what investigation.
And then they continue to fuck around with her anyway. So they'll drop the charges, but they'll keep her car, a car that she's probably still paying for, that she still needs to get to point A or point B. Like, our government is absolutely vile. It terrorizes citizens with literal federal agents, and then it terrorizes them in the judicial process by keeping their financial means out of their own possession. Like, how much more disgusting and diabolical does this administration have to get before people realize, like, our country is out to kill us and keep us afraid? Like, we are in all but name, we are enslaved at this point. And the antics of the government and of corporations continue to be more and more open about that fact.
That is a part of. Federal agents initially said on October 4th, Miramar Martinez and 21-year-old co-defendant Anthony Ian Santos Ruiz used their cars to block federal agents near Pershing and Kedzie and rammed their vehicles. An agent said that that's why he got out and fired 5 shots, hitting Martinez, who was still inside of her car. Martinez and Ruiz were later arrested. She was treated at a hospital before she was released. Martinez was then indicted by a grand jury and pleaded not guilty to using a vehicle to assault, resist, or impede federal agents. Martinez insists agents hit her, though. In a court filing, Martinez's lawyer points to body camera video they say tells a different story of what happened that day. Her lawyer saying it shows the agent turned his wheel and caused the crash before he jumps out of the car and starts to shoot. That video has not been made public. Martinez's attorney also argued that crucial evidence, the agent's car, was driven back to Maine and tampered with.
I thank the judges, all the parents that supported me.
And here's the thing, folks. The federal government and these agents are basically getting away with murder, kidnapping, and trafficking, tampering with evidence, terrorizing citizens, right? They're getting away with it. And who's holding them accountable? Like, if we are being shown anything about our country, is that the federal government, if it were so inclined to do so, is above the law. It cannot be held accountable. Because who's going to hold the federal government accountable? Itself. We've investigated ourselves and found that we have done nothing wrong. We're going to charge this person, but we actually don't have enough evidence to do that, and then we'd have to, perjure ourselves and also lie and do this, that, and the other and prove that we were actually the bad guys. So we're going to let this one go, but we're going to keep your car because fuck you, that's why. So I think people need to quickly realize that the more this continues, the longer this goes on for, and this isn't new, right? It's not like federal agents haven't been terrorizing citizens in the past for being dissenters or protesters. That goes as far back as Bush, or even further back to Reagan and all the other presidents. Like, there has never not been a time in which the federal government didn't crush dissent. But because they were able to walk back then, they are sprinting now towards the finish line of absolute social control. And that is the reality that we need to start embracing. Not embracing as in we're happy for it, but embracing the fact that that is the reality. That they are sprinting towards control and using violence and misdirection and again, finances and everything at their disposal to harm us and keep us quiet and keep us afraid so that we don't stand up, reach out, and lash out. So, well, let's hear her
Everybody
words.
that's supporting me, I'm just grateful for everything. Thank you for my attorneys. They did a great job. I'm so grateful for you guys, for my family in the background. I'm just happy. I'm excited,
Today, federal
And imagine that. She is that chipper after getting shot 5 times. Like, I don't know how long ago she was shot, but man, I don't know that I would be that chipper. Or maybe I'm not a chipper person, so I'd probably be animated. So, you know what? Maybe that's just the kind of person she is. She's chipper. Good for her.
Prosecutors also dismissed charges against 70-year-old U.S. Air Force veteran Dana Briggs, who was arrested back in September during protests in Broadview. Charging documents said Briggs ignored orders to clear the street, and when he attempted to hand his cell phone to another protester, he was accused of swinging his arm that made contact with an officer. The U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Illinois has said that they're continuously reviewing cases that are either charged or still under investigation to ensure that things are going through the federal court system appropriately. We're live at
Well, considering the footage shows that the guy was just standing there and he got shoved down to the ground by the agent, it makes you wonder, like, how... Well, I guess it's not a question. It's obviously that those with power wield it with brutality. And it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. Like, how long ago was it that cops were able to get away with assaulting protesters or civilians on the streets without losing their jobs? How long ago? When was the last time that was actually frowned upon? And in fact, when was the first time it ever actually happened? When was the first time cops were allowed to start beating on people? And then you can point, well, it's always been legal to beat on black people. It's like, okay, I'll give you that. Well, then let's look at the Vietnam War. They were beating on protesters then. But it wasn't commonplace. It wasn't this thing where cops had this license to kill and to assault and that they were treated as if they were above the law. This whole thin blue line began in around the thousands, the early thousands. And it has only creeped up to where it is now, to where they're paramilitary who view all civilians, all Americans, as threats and treat them as such. And that's become normalized. I mean, I know what it would take to denormalize that, but in the interim between the denormalization process, like, we need to hold these departments, these officers, these federal agents accountable by doing class actions, by doing protests, by doing all these things, because we cannot allow the escalation to become normalized. Because once that becomes normalized, the escalation and, God forbid, live ammunition against crowds, there's one option left, and it's civil war. That's it. Like, if these agents are legally allowed or not being held accountable for live fire ammunition being used against civilians, then we don't have anything resembling freedom anymore. Doesn't matter if you're not doing anything wrong, just going to work, paying your taxes. If you come across them and they're chasing down an immigrant and you happen to cut them off on accident, or you happen to be in their way and they shoot into you, all of a sudden they have the justification that you are obstructing. Even though through no fault of your own, you were in the wrong place at the wrong time. That is why these cases matter. That's why Miramar Martinez is so important. Because had those charges stuck, what I just described wouldn't be that far away. So at least the likelihood of what I just described coming to fruition has been assuaged or pushed back for at least a couple more months. But that's how dire this circumstance is. We are months away from federal agents masked without exercising any due process or having a warrant or declaring that they are in fact federal agents. We are months away from them openly shooting upon citizens. People, just openly shooting against people. And it being defended in court. We are months away from either the first court case or the first incident. Well, I guess not the first incident, but the first court case. And I would say, although this isn't not that, it isn't what I'm talking. I'm saying where there is, where it's being attempted to be normalized. This wasn't the normalization event, but this was the precursor. Are we ready to normalize it? And the answer is no. In the month of November, no. But maybe December, January, or February, with more raids and more ICE aggression that results in violence, depending on how the news decides to report it, that could be normalized until they can openly argue we have the right to fire upon anyone who impedes our duty. That wasn't this. Not yet. Speaking of,
this is the latest operation, part of President Trump's nationwide immigration crackdown. Sources telling us over 200 agents are preparing to descend soon on yet another American city, New Orleans. It follows operations in Los Angeles, Chicago, and Charlotte. Now, the state's Republican governor has been supportive of Trump's immigration efforts, but some local leaders now expressing worry. The mayor-elect saying she has been kept in the dark about the plans and is concerned after seeing how operations unfolded in other cities. Now, in recent days, Border Patrol agents surging into Charlotte, arresting over 250 people. That's according to the Department of Homeland Security. Now, some of those efforts turning aggressive. This man's windows smashed in during an encounter, though he said he was let go after proving he is a U.S. citizen. Now, DHS tells ABC he was stopped because he was interfering with their operations, which he denies, and officials in New Orleans are bracing here too. Rachel.
Yeah, that crackdown only.
So we're already in the normalization phase of kidnapping and harassing brown people without due process in broad daylight. That's already normalized. That has been normalized for several months now. Now we have normalized deploying federal agents and the military into American cities in defiance of governors and city leadership. There's only so many other steps that can be taken before it is the openly assaulting and rounding up people and then letting whatever happens happen, right? So this isn't hyperbole, right? When this happened in July, or the first time, when was the first deployment? Shut the fuck up, AI. Goddamn. So June? It was June. Okay. So since June, It took 5 months to normalize. And I said that that was going to happen back in June. And I said that it was only going to escalate from there, that it was going to start being citizens in broad daylight, being kidnapped, the racial profiling escalating to the point of open violence, right? And 5 months later, the first 5, technically, shots were fired of, we have the right to be here and do these things, and we will use violence to assert our authority. Her case, Miramar Martinez, was the first case to test those waters. Just like Los Angeles was the first case of deploying the National Guard and the first case of deploying ICE agents to an American city. And 5 months later, it's normalized. So 5 months from now would be April, right? December? Yeah. April, May. But more than likely April. So we're looking at April timeframe, right before the Ohio primaries, of where actual lethal force being used against civilians is normalized by ICE agents. And the fact that I can say that with a straight face without getting overly infuriated is either a testament to my exhaustion or at how bad things have gotten already. And that in of itself is a normalization. If we're becoming numb to the actual goose-stepping fascism that is occurring on our soil, then how much more can we take and suffer for until we meet our breaking point? And that's the thing. The Nazis took over Germany in 2 months. America is installing fascism slowly, quickly, in the grand scheme of things, but slowly over periods to allow the shock to settle in and to then dissipate so that it is replaced by a numbing effect to then escalate further. It's kind of like one of these types of deals. And we have until, I guess, April for the live firing, the actively firing upon civilians to become normalized. And I hope it never becomes normalized, but at the rate things are going, that seems to be the case. It's being normalized like we just saw people are blind until it's them or one of their loved ones being kidnapped. Right. And it's even Latino people like, oh, I didn't see a problem with it until it happened to my mom, my dad, my sister, me. Right? I didn't think I was going to be a victim. I thought they were going after criminals, and I'm not a criminal. How was I supposed to know? Okay. So, let's see. I don't actually know much about this story.
Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice to be back.
I understand you've got an announcement to make.
I do. And if you remember, from day one, I let everyone know that I didn't intend to get in this race. And I interviewed every single candidate, and I could not find one that was qualified. So I decided to jump in myself. And I've worked with great leaders in the past, creating the Tourism Department of the United States.
Yeah, I was going to say, who is this guy, right? Isn't he just some CEO of something? Because he looks familiar. Maybe he had a little blurb in a movie or a video, or maybe I saw an interview with him or something. But like, this is a chairman and CEO of a resort, right? The resorts. So like, we're not getting the best and the brightest to run for office, but that is also not the primary thing of this video.
Address the legal costs and the worry around that. And so I looked.
Okay, so hold on.
But people know you for your business acumen. Alex, you probably don't know how generous he is. Dream Foundation to take. I was told by the farm workers through the fields by ICE so that they can, address the legal costs and the worry around that. And so I look forward to drawing on, Steve for the farm workers who are being chased through the third party. I didn't tell you this, but I was told by the farm workers that he has funded a crisis center for the farm workers who are being chased through the fields by ICE so that they can, address the legal costs and the worry around that. And so I look forward to drawing on, Stephen's Stephen's experience as I take on bringing more housing to California, modernizing the state, and adding small businesses in our state.
So you've traveled up and down the state.
I have.
You've talked to people for years now looking into this issue, right, and studying this issue. What's the most important lesson you learned from running for California governor?
The most important lesson I've learned is really solidifying a place where I've grown up and I made the right decision.
Okay, CNN, at what point in this 8-minute video do we talk about vote by phone? The fuck? Anyway, I guess we'll skip to something else. The Epstein
Survivors
files.
of Jeffrey Epstein's abuse in the American public are still awaiting the full release of the Epstein case files. After moments of delay, President Trump signed a bill passed nearly unanimously by Congress into law last week that compels the Justice Department to make those materials public within 30 days. Joining us now to discuss this and more is Congressman Jamie Raskin of Maryland. He is the top Democrat on the House Judiciary Committee. Hi, Congressman. Thank you for coming on the show. So first off, do you have any updates on when the Justice Department plans to release the Epstein files?
No updates, but we...
Oh, that delay. That's what I was talking about earlier. Now, this is what I'm not understanding. I've done a couple of interviews, like with Fox and CNN before, and they take you to a studio. Now, granted, you're in a studio, and there's this big old multi-$100,000 camera that you're looking into, and you're sitting on a chair, and there's a background behind you. So I get that they're not using a webcam, for instance. But it's not like webcams haven't improved significantly over the course of whatever. And if you're in a studio setting, a lot of these mirrorless cameras, digital cameras, are capable of being used as video cameras, right? For webcams or whatever else. All of the big name streamers use an actual mirrorless camera. That's sure $5,000 or whatever, but they use them as webcams. And by using an internet connection, which again, at a news network, you would imagine that they could have a closed internet service. So I'm not understanding how they haven't figured it out to avoid the delay. Like, I don't get that.
Are fully expecting and demanding complete disclosure of the Epstein files, just with the names of victims redacted where it's appropriate.
I want to ask you about Democratic Congresswoman Stacey Plaskett. Last week, as you know, there was a failed censure effort over her text with Epstein during an oversight hearing in 2019. He was a known sex offender. She acknowledged Epstein's influence in her line of questioning during that hearing on this show when we had her on, but would not say it was an error in judgment. Here's how you defended her on the House floor last week, so our viewers can listen.
Speaking of establishment Democrats that need to go, this guy and the lady who was being coached by Epstein. Holy crap.
However ill-advised it may have been, she took a phone call from one of her constituents. They've arraigned a Democratic member for taking a phone call from her constituent, Jeffrey Epstein, in the middle of a hearing. And of course, I don't think there's any rule here against taking phone calls in a hearing.
What? That's your argument? She was taking a phone call from a constituent during a hearing, and there's no rules against it? Bitch, then there should be. Secondly, Jeffrey Epstein has now been revealed as not just a predator, but an actual power broker and an agent of Mossad and the CIA. And he was coaching her. It wasn't like they were talking about basketball or spring or the weather. He was coaching her on the thing while the thing was happening. That's not just an arbitrary call with your constituent. You are being... oh my fucking God.
And to be clear, she initiated the text chain on that day. But are Democrats losing the moral high ground?
Who cares who started the text? What even is this video now?
The Epstein issue by defending her as you have.
Well, look, we've been demanding a complete release of the file And now they wanted to discipline her, censure her, because she'd engaged in that text exchange with a convicted criminal. Of course, our Republican colleagues engage in text exchanges all the time with Donald Trump, who has 34 felony criminal offenses to his name. So I don't know exactly what she's being charged with there. My point was simply she had not violated the Constitution, she had not violated federal law, and she had not violated, to my knowledge, any rule of the House of Representatives. Look, we're not afraid of anything that's in the Epstein files, and we want to see justice done for the survivors. That's what this is about. We want to see the truth come out.
See, this guy is why people hate politics, and exactly why they hate politicians. So she was talking to a convicted criminal. The Republicans talk to Trump all the time, and he's a convicted criminal. He's the president of the United States. Who cares, right? Forget about it. But we're going to get the Epstein files released maybe eventually at some point. So that's what we're focusing on, Linda. Back to you. My counter is that in 2022, while the House Oversight Committee was in session over the January 6th attempted coup, Jim Jordan was texting the elder of the Proud Boys, giving him updates on what the committee was doing behind closed doors. Right. Which is, I would argue, worse. You're going to work with part of the group that tried to overthrow the federal government? But because it was failed and he got reelected, it's all water under the bridge? Yeah, and his defense is so they do it too. Okay.
And it's the Republicans who are running around trying to figure out who's in there and who's going to be implicated. And that's not our approach to it. But Stacey Plaskett obviously didn't violate any law, or they didn't
obviously
even allege that she violated a rule of the House of Representatives.
Did she obviously? I don't know. I'm pretty sure that if I was texting somebody while I was in court being accused of my criminal activities, I would have been charged on the spot. Pretty sure nobody is allowed to be on their phone during any sort of hearing or criminal whatever, except for maybe the lawyers. That's it. But the people doing the questioning? Yeah, actually, I don't even think lawyers are allowed now that I think about it. At least not the one doing the questions. Oh my God.
What rule did she violate? People text and email and call us all the time. I mean, do I have anything to do with Jeffrey Epstein? No. And, it's unfortunate that he's got some people's phone numbers, but, he's no...
Bro, All right, I can't with this guy. Look at her face. Her face. Wow.
Now to another twist in the Jeffrey Epstein saga. The Department of Justice is asking for grand jury testimony to be unsealed. Let's bring in ABC's Olivia Rubin. Olivia, explain the significance of this request as the DOJ is up against a tight deadline.
Lindsay, tonight the Justice Department is back in federal court in Florida, again asking a judge to unseal grand jury transcripts from the initial federal investigation into Jeffrey Epstein 2 decades ago. But judges in New York and Florida previously denied similar requests earlier this year, one judge even suggesting DOJ was trying to distract from the records it already has in its possession. And while the new law requires DOJ to release all of its unclassified documents and records related to Epstein and his accomplices, it doesn't mention grand jury transcripts specifically. But the Department of Justice is now arguing those are required, and they are asking a judge to rule quickly here, noting their looming December deadline. Lindsay.
I mean, at this point, I'm really curious to see what, if any, of these files were actually going to get released to the public. And the fact that the things that we have been getting from the released into the public were from the Epstein estate and not the FBI makes you really question, like, if there was this much damning evidence from, 5 emails, then how much damning evidence is in the piles of information that the FBI has been sitting on for 5 years? Like, that's the kind of stuff I think we need to be asking. Okay, let's get into less horror type videos. Like the economy.
The holiday shopping season.
Because the economy isn't a horror show right now.
Kicks off this week. Really? Because I feel like it already started. Millions of Americans are bracing for some sticker shock from tariffs and inflation this time around. CNN's Harry Anton is running the numbers on the state of inflation and the state of how people feel about it. I mean, how do Americans feel about inflation, how it's impacting their lives right now?
They think prices are rising.
Okay. Anna, do you keep finding videos with this guy just to get under my skin to see how much trash I talk about this guy? And that woman always has a coffee in her hand. And I can't blame her because, like, I need a coffee in my hand right now.
rising, and it's across different. Look at this. I mean, just your costs are up versus a year ago. Groceries, 85%. Utilities, 78%. Healthcare, 67%.
Now take into consideration housing and healthcare in the upper 60 percentile. If utilities are pretty bad too, right? So say your electric bill was $100. It is now $178 on average from a year ago. So if your average utility was $100 a year ago, your average utility is up to $178 a month. That's disgusting. Healthcare. Most healthcare premiums, if you have it through work, is still between $100 and $500 depending on if you have dependents. Now, it went up 67%. The $100, still bad, $167 a month. Right? $500 though is $800 a month. So there are people whose premiums went from $500 to $800 compared to this time last year. Like, who has $300 lying around? Honestly, who has $67 lying around? I don't. I really don't. And the fact that we keep having to reiterate that over 60% of Americans are working in poverty, and that over 70% of Americans feel as though their finances aren't going to be met. Like, this is agreed. This is the reason, right? This is 100% the reason, but it is egregious nevertheless.
Housing, 66%. Gasoline, 54%. The bottom line is this. Americans feel like prices are rising in each and every single part of their lives, rising ever climber, and they just don't feel like, Kate Baldwin, that they can catch a break.
Because according to this chart, it is, everything in their life is rising, and they can't catch a break because it is rising. And again, groceries have nearly doubled in just a year. Inflation is 3%. Inflation, let me repeat that, standard inflation is 3%. Bad inflation for a bad year is 7%. These numbers are factors of 10 above even the worst case scenario of inflation in a given economy. So all of this is corporate greed, tariffs, and terrible, terrible governing by this administration. This doesn't need to be. You get rid of the tariffs, you hold corporations accountable, and you actually govern accordingly, and those numbers get erased. That 85% increase goes away. In fact, what we should be seeing is net decreases across all goods, because every single year we make things better, safer, in larger quantities, and are able to get it to you faster. That's how technology works. It gets better year after year after year. So the fact that costs are going up is because companies want more profit, not because it actually costs them more to do things. It costs them less. And I can tell you, working at Marzetti, Yeah, no, that is the T. Marzetti Lancaster Colony or whatever. There are 2,700 employees. And in terms of profit, each of those employees generate over $160,000 in profit. Individually, each individual employee generates $160,000 worth of profit. And they are still charging whatever it is they're charging at Kroger for veggie dip. So, at the end of the day, they could slash the price of veggie dip in half. The profits would then be $80,000 per employee, and that would still be $80,000 of profit per employee. That is hundreds of percent past the cost of manufacturing that this company is profiting, and we're paying for it. We are literally paying for the profits of companies. We're not actually paying for the cost of production. And that key difference is why our costs are up. And that is not being discussed at all by anybody. I made 18 grand last year. I'm going to make the same this year. I pay $1,000 in rent every month, plus another $250 in utilities. No right-wing freak is ever going to talk to me about living within your means. No, and I agree with you, brother. And unfortunately, you're one of the people that is working and still living in poverty. So, like, it's absolutely asinine to see these guys talk about this, to hear the rhetoric from the right and the left, for that matter, and then literally nothing gets done about it, and none of the key core responsibilities are discussed, which is literally corporate greed. That's not even anti-capitalism, which I am. But it's corporate greed that is driving these prices, not inflation, and not even the tariffs. The tariffs can't even account for all of this because they have largely been reduced since being implemented, or they have been removed because of greasing Trump's palms. So, absolutely insane.
The Treasury Secretary in new comments kind of dismissed the impact tariffs is having on inflation, also saying that prices are going to be coming down in weeks. Some other prices are going to be coming down in months. What do Americans think about that?
Yeah, they think he's full of it. That's exactly what they think. I mean, just take a look here. Tariffs raising prices right now. I'm going to come over Kate's side of the screen, 71%.
How dare you?
How dare I do that? 84% of Democrats, 74% of independents, and even a majority of Republicans. When you can get a majority of Republicans to agree with majority of Democrats, you know that the pain is being felt by the American public right now. The Treasury Secretary...
Okay, see, I thought that chart was going to say how much the tariffs are contributing. So here's the thing about the tariff. It's a tax. So if the tax on a good was 10%, right, on import, that means, say it's $100. Then it was 10% of that, or you would tack on 10% to that $100 as a tariff. So it would be $110. Even if the tariff was 100 or 50%, right, that would be 150. Now, that tariff still doesn't account for the corporate greed, the 3% increase in the inflation, right? In that case, the average cost of goods should have only gone up by 15 or 20 or 30%, right? But if they go up by not just the percent of the tariff, which again is across the entire globe, which would then disperse the actual economic impact of that, realistically, prices should have only gone up maybe 20 or 30%. But the fact they're going up by double digits, double of that no less, by 50% or up to 80%, shows that tariffs alone are not the problem, but that corporate greed is driving the price increase on top of the tariffs by using the tariffs as the justification, which is the same thing they did for COVID, which is, the distribution network and infrastructure is in smithereens, so we have to raise prices. And then those prices stayed. So what I would really like to see is the cost comparison of goods from 2020 to the present, which I wonder if we can Google that real quick. That's 2023. So from 2020 to 2024, it's 24%. which is still quite a bit. I would say that doesn't seem right because I was buying groceries back then, and $50 actually would last me a week, and nowadays $50 is what I spend midway through the week. So that's not 1/4%. That's more like, 25%. That's more like a 50%. Let's see. Tools, AI mode, tools, more. Search results. Past year. There we go. See, you have to force Google to give you answers. How fast are prices rising? So, we're saying that goods were up. See, no, I don't want from 2022. Year-over-year inflation. So the Biden administration was able to crush inflation, and then it started going up. But in terms of real cost of goods, 18%. But again, I want to see it from 2020. So I guess we got to propagandize from Biden. '23 to 24. See, I'm not going to sit here and like push the issue. Maybe I'll have to do it on my own. But that just goes to show, like, even something that should be readily available on a chart, on like just a regular data analysis chart, is not as accessible as you think it should be, because it would paint in a significantly different picture. That the disparity, although just from this year is already up 18% on average across all goods, that's just over the past 11 months. This isn't even compared to 5 years ago or even 10 years ago, when inflation compounded should only be an equivalent 3% increase year over year over year. Should be like, it should take 20 years to double. And we're at well past double. We're at like triple or quadruple from even 10 years ago. So the economy is not doing great. And we can lay the blame at many different feet, but the one that's most responsible is corporate greed and the lack of accountability.
Joining
the
us
CDC website
now to discuss, Republican Senator Bill Cassidy of Louisiana. He's the chairman of the Senate Health Committee. He's a medical doctor. Dr. Cassidy, I know you want to talk about your health care proposal, and I promise you we will get to it, but I do want to ask you, because RFK Jr. promised you that he wouldn't do this. Here is an exchange you had with him during his confirmation hearing.
If the data is brought to you, and these studies that have been out there for quite some time and have been peer-reviewed, and it shows that these two vaccines are not associated with autism, will you ask, no, I need even more? Or will you say, no, this, I see this, it's stood the test of time, and I unequivocally and without qualification say that this does not cause autism?
Not only will I do that, but I will apologize for any statements that misled people otherwise.
Thank you.
So that
Dr.
was a
Cassidy,
lie. Imagine that.
Who lied to you?
Well, first let me say what is most important to the American people. Speaking as a physician, vaccines are safe. As has been pointed out, it's actually not disputed. It's actually quite well proven that vaccines are not associated with autism. There's a fringe out there that thinks so, but they're quite a fringe. President Trump agrees that vaccines are safe. And if you look at the consequences of not taking vaccine, there's 2 children dead in West Texas from not taking a measles vaccine. There's a woman pregnant who lost her child because she was exposed to someone who did not have the measles vaccine. There's children in my state who've died from things like pertussis recently because they weren't vaccinated. So discuss this with your doctor. Vaccines are safe. That's the most important message.
You know what? This must be the least insane Republican we've seen talk so far. But then again, he's talking about medicine, and he's apparently a medical professional. So I guess a broken clock kind of situation here.
This year, you started sounding the alarm about those 2 unvaccinated children in Texas who died. And obviously measles is a vaccine preventable illness. How worried are you that this change to the CDC's website and Secretary Kennedy's other actions are going to result in more dead Americans?
Anything that undermines the understanding, the correct understanding, the absolute scientifically based understanding that vaccines are safe and that if you don't take them, you're putting your child or yourself in greater danger. Anything that underlines that message is a problem. And so I want to make America healthy again. I agree with President Trump, vaccines are safe. And so I just encourage everybody, if you've got a question, discuss with your physician. I will say, Jake, I've never met any parent who wasn't a pediatrician as well who actually reads the CDC website. So the most important thing is discuss it with your child's physician or your physician. Vaccines are safe, they're indicated. Please get vaccinated, protect yourself, make your family healthy.
You were
the fact that this guy is doing like a PSA type deal and not actually answering the question, do you think people are going to suffer? Like, yes, people are going to suffer. And as a physician, I'm encouraging you to get your vaccine so you don't suffer. But what's even more crazy than that is that it is 2025. It is nearly 2026. And we have to put a doctor on the news to argue or to correct the record from the Secretary of Health, who has changed the CDC website to state that vaccines cause... Like, do you understand how batshit insane that is? We are literally having to go on the news. People, senators, right? A senator has to go on the news who is a physician to contradict the Secretary of Health and Human Services who unilaterally chose to change the CDC website on vaccines. Like, we don't even have a consensus on the basic sciences. We don't have a consensus on just basic truths anymore. The basic truths and science are being debated and given credibility, which is what gave us this administration in the first place, which gave us the Tea Party in the first place. Like, we have a lot of work to do and a lot of harm to undo as well. This is disturbing. Trump took credit for the COVID vaccine, then the GOP was anti-vax to begin with. Broadly, I would say. And Kennedy has zero medical background. Right. He has zero medical background and is a walking example of why you should take medicine and why you should believe in science, because, I mean, look at the man. Listen to the man, for that matter. He has a brain worm that ate his brain. And he's in charge of health. We need to get rid of those warning labels from cigarettes. Nothing's more healthy than that nice cool drag of a Marlboro Red. In fact, kids should be able to smoke them too. Like, we're that close from him saying that, I swear. Okay. We're not halfway through yet, but we are 2/3 of the way through the stream. So, okay, the Senator Mark Kelly brouhaha.
This morning, Arizona Senator Mark Kelly defiant after the Pentagon announced it's investigating him for serious allegations of misconduct after he and 5 other Democratic lawmakers posted a video urging U.S. service members not to follow illegal orders.
That was a cap.
By the way, not following illegal orders is federal law. It's part of the oath. It's in the UCMJ. It's written in Article 18 or something. Which U.S. law clearly states that soldiers are to only follow lawful orders? Article 92, although that's a Facebook post, but okay. So, Article 92. Article 92, failure to obey a lawful general order or regulation, failure to obey other lawful orders, or dereliction of duty. Each violation reflects a breakdown in the chain of command and can lead to serious consequences. A lawful order is more than just a directive. It must meet specific legal criteria under military law. It must be issued by a member of the armed forces. It must relate to a military purpose. It cannot be illegal, unethical, or outside the scope of the superior's authority. To violate this article, the accused must have had actual knowledge of the order or regulation. So, and that's from a law firm. That's not just a Wikipedia or whatever. This is from a military defense law firm. So, we can get investigated by the Pentagon for pointing out U.S. law, Uniform Code of Military Justice law. I mean, I'm a veteran. I swore the oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States from all enemies, both foreign and domestic, and obey the lawful orders of the President of the United States and the officers appointed above me, so help me God, or I swear or affirm. Like, did I still have the oath up here somewhere? I might have. I don't know which one of these it has anymore, but this is so ridiculous. And it's the Pentagon, but it's Pete Hegseth forcing the Pentagon, which in of itself is an illegal order. You can't retaliatingly, you can't retaliate against someone who, well, first of all, you can't investigate someone for quoting the law, for one. So doing so is illegal. Secondly, retaliation is illegal. So that's two violations right there. And then you're investigating somebody exercising their free speech, which is also illegal. So that's like 3 laws being broken with one order. Like, is he going for a record? So again, the Pentagon investigating at all is a criminal act. And those people that are doing the investigating should be refusing, should be listening. But what do I know, I guess? I'm an adult. I know smoking is bad for me. I make the adult choice to keep doing it. All of the Dems in the videos are vets on top of that. No, that's I mean, that is the whole point. That's why it is important that veterans speak out about this. It's why I speak out against it as a veteran. Like, that's why I'm so furious about what we're doing in Venezuela and the deployments to our cities.
Captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
Kelly, who flew 39 combat missions in a...
Okay, what? There was a former CIA officer in Congress? Who was that?
U.S. service members not to follow illegal orders.
I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA.
That lady killed people. Let me tell you something. She killed somebody. Like, she took the quill, killed somebody, and then wrote her name. I don't know anything about her politics, but former CIA officer? Yeah. Woo! Elise Slotkin, the future of the Dem Party. Oh, that explains it. No, that explains it. She's former CIA. Then she's going to be Papa Bush. I see now. Oh, no. Yeah. No, I bet. Also, Elise, bring it. Because either I'm going to bring it to you when I'm in Congress, or you can bring it to help elevate my campaign by trying to assassinate me beforehand. But at least in this instance, we agree. You should only obey the lawful orders, and lawful orders are orders that aren't illegal. Can't believe that needs to be said.
A officer.
Former Navy.
Kelly, who flew 39 combat missions in Iraq before going on to become an astronaut, now threatened with a court-martial for saying this.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
Yes,
you can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law or our Constitution.
The president furious
Correct.
at the lawmakers, labeling them traitors and accusing them of, quote, seditious behavior punishable by death. But the law is clear.
That should be more than enough, right? Like, there are so many individual things that could remove Trump from office. Threatening sitting members of Congress for quoting and re-emphasizing the law with death is just one of many reasons why Trump needs to be removed from office, whether through impeachment or Article 25. Mark Kelly is a true American hero. He has done America proud. I dare them to try and court-martial him. Yeah, I can't speak on that per se. I don't know enough about Mark Kelly. The fact that he's an astronaut, though, speaks extremely highly of him and his character, because part of being an astronaut isn't just are you smart, are you capable, were you a fighter pilot, but also you have to have an extremely high degree of character. So I would argue that Mark Kelly probably is all that in a bag of chips, but I don't know his voting record and I don't know his policies. And whether as an individual, as Mark Kelly, the person, the astronaut, he's a great person, doesn't necessarily mean as Mark Kelly, the senator, he's a good person.
Here, service members don't need to follow unlawful orders. Rachel Van Landingham, a lawyer and retired Air Force lieutenant colonel, says there's no legal basis for the Pentagon to court-martial Kelly.
There's absolutely zero probable cause, zero chance in any universe that Senator Kelly violated any component of U.S. federal law or the Uniform Code of Military Justice.
Late last week, the president suggesting the Pentagon could take action.
Well, I think Pete Hegseth is looking into it, too. I know they're looking into it militarily. I don't know for a fact, but I think the military is looking into it, the military courts.
Yesterday, Secretary Hegseth following through, calling the video despicable, reckless, and false, adding encouraging our warriors to ignore the orders of their commanders undermines every aspect of good order and discipline.
It's about intimidation.
Overnight, Kelly saying he won't be silenced.
Well, if Pete Hegseth wants to publicly make the Nuremberg defense, let him. Because during our modern-day Nuremberg trials, that is going to be the quote that says, hey, he was trying to be the Nazi equivalent of the Nazi SS. He was trying to force our soldiers to follow unlawful orders, and here's him saying it. So, we good? We're good. Click, clack. I mean, this is honestly, let the fascists be fascists. Let them hang themselves. Seriously. Let them dig their own graves. And then just let us play. Like, just create the montage, right? Or whatever it's called when you piece a bunch of video together. Just let them play that thing, however long it may be, of him incriminating himself over and over and over and over again, and then when it's over, be like, no further questions. He admitted it himself. Well, the context of no, you said it. You also followed it through, and this is over the course of your entire tenure as Secretary of Defense. So Mark Kelly holds the record for the longest stay in space. Oh, I didn't know that. Good for him. I thought his brother went to space and Mark stayed on Earth. Regardless, the study that they participated in was groundbreaking. Okay. That was... Oh, wait, he was the twin? Because that's the study that I'm thinking of. That's crazy. Good for him, then. I like that tie, now that I'm noticing it. That's a pretty good tie. That's a strong tie. All right. Okay. I don't even know what. Hold up. Campbell's defends soup after alleged expletive-filled rant by executive.
Good. This morning, Campbell's Soup is denying claims about its products, allegedly made by an executive in a recorded conversation. The person in the recording is also heard belittling Campbell's customers during an expletive-filled rant.
We have that's for poor people. Who buys our I don't buy Campbell's products barely anymore. It's unhealthy. Now that I know what the in it, I can eat bioengineered meat. I don't want to eat a piece of chicken that came from a 3D printer.
The recording is allegedly from a conversation that's now part of a lawsuit filed by Robert Garza, a cybersecurity analyst for Campbell's, who claims he was fired after reporting the alleged remarks, which he says also included racist comments about company employees. Garza claims Campbell executive...
Oh my God! The full trifecta. I'm not going to eat our own product because it's unhealthy bioengineered food, and racism, and disparaging poor people. The trifecta. What a legend.
Martin Valley made those comments after the two met to discuss Garza's salary. In a statement, Garza's attorney saying, "This situation has been very hard on Robert. He thought Campbell's would be thankful that he reported Martin's behavior, but instead, he was abruptly fired." Campbell's
Of
responded
course he
saying,
was.
If the comments...
That's the problem with corporations. They say we have an open-door whistleblowing policy, but the second you do, you're fired. Which is retaliation, which is a lawsuit. On top of whatever the thing is that you were whistleblowing.
were in fact made, they are unacceptable. They do not reflect our values and the culture of our company. And going on to say, the comments
evidently not, because you fired the guy who brought it up.
On the recording about our food are not only inaccurate, they are patently absurd.
Nothing melts away the cold like a delicious hot bowl of Campbell's soup.
Campbell saying, the chicken meat used in our soups comes from long-trusted, USDA-approved U.S. suppliers and meets our high-quality standards. And the
Okay, I work at Marzetti, and I can assure you that whatever those high-quality standards aren't that high. Let's see. Mark went to the ISS. His twin stayed on Earth and was studied by NASA while Mark was in space. To compare how the human body changes after almost a year in 0 Gs. I watched that as it happened, and what NASA learned about long-term living in space and the effects on the human body was amazing, and that data is going to help get us to Mars. Okay, so it was that study. It turns out that the radiation ages you faster, and then, of course, your body deteriorates over time being in zero gravity, so like the type of exercise that you have to do to maintain your muscle mass and bone density, vastly different. Oh, so we have ourselves a, what do you call that? Why can't I think of it? Mandela effect. So Anna was in the universe where it was Mark, and the rest of us are in the universe where it was Kelly, or the other guy, the brother. They said the quiet part out loud about that soup, which is probably packed with mutant-causing ingredients. No, I mean, red dye number 30. I mean, what are the ingredients of a Campbell's soup? Like, let's just... Wait, is it Campbell's? It is Campbell's soup ingredients. That's funny. The facts about our chicken. They have to make all this stuff. Sourcing high quality, FAQs, where does it come from? USDA approves, no antibiotic. So that's not even... Oh, man. I want to see if there's an actual, like, picture of the ingredients label of a can. All right, so probably not. Let's see. Images. Here we go. Ingredients: tomato paste, bleached enriched flour. So let's see. Wheat contains less than 2% of milk. Ferrous sulfate. So that's iron sulfate. Thiamine monotitrate. Nitrate. I'm sorry. Thiamine mononitrate. So that's like some sort of nitrogen, whatever. Riboflavin, folic acid, flavoring. So on paper, this looks like it's just food and not, you know, red dye number 13. But I guarantee you, like, these high quality USDA standards are not high quality USDA standards because I've been through several audits at my plant alone, and the fact that we pass is mind-boggling to me. It's not enough to whistleblow, because it's not like we're putting spoiled stuff on purpose in there, because I would whistleblow that. But it's just like our processes are out the window. We have all sorts of just constant hole. It's just, all I'm saying is the food manufacturing industry is not a very high standard at all, and it needs to be. The R&D division is. R&D is held to an extremely high standard, but manufacturing is like right there. Again, just short of using spoiled product. How'd the petition go to get you into elected office? That's actually going really well. The debut that we did at Clark County went extremely well. In fact, it was a very positive reception, and even one of the guest speakers who represents a different organization was friendly and encouraging to me as well. Now, he didn't follow up like he said he would, but, you know, kids in university, what do you expect, right? But overall, it went extremely well. Yeah, the top healthy guy calling the shots doesn't know Jack Diddy about that. If you take something out, they load it with something else to keep the tastiness. Right. No, it's just our country is being ran by corporate executives and narcissists with sociopathic tendencies, and all of them only care about profit. So no, I wouldn't imagine any of our food is good to eat or healthy unless it is imported from like another country which has extremely high standards. But then that meat or that food is going to be triple the price. So good luck. That is funny, though. Not funny, but also not surprising.
The victim works as a massage therapist. Police say when the suspect tried paying by credit card, she informed him she doesn't take credit, and he then demanded to see her papers. Supposedly a man of God, but police say certainly no agent of ICE. Don Doolittle, listed as safety director on the Gateway Community Church of Webster's website, charged with impersonating a public servant. Thursday, police say he flashed a fake ICE ID at this Northwest Houston massage parlor and threatened to have the massage therapist deported if she didn't pay him money. Investigators say Doolittle had booked and received a massage from the victim. The problems arose when Doolittle went to pay. He wanted to use a credit card, but the victim told him she only accepted cash or Zelle payments.
And at that point, she said he pulled out an ID card labeled ICE, stated he was an ICE agent who needs to see her ID.
Police say the victim complied, showing him her temporary visa, but that apparently wasn't enough because they say Doolittle went on to insist she also sent him money.
He said he demanded she Zelle him $500 or he would take her away and she would never see her family or children again.
We called that as well almost immediately once we found out about the deputization of bounty hunters in Los Angeles. And of course, the fact that ICE agents were immediately targeting regular workers. We said that if that becomes normalized, people impersonating ICE agents is going to also start creeping up and becoming a norm as well. And then within weeks of that being said, or of the ICE activities, there were multiple incidences all across the country of ICE impersonations, not least of which is this one, which not only was trying to threaten the worker because they didn't accept the payment, but then tried to extort the worker as well. Like, this is only going to get worse until, again, we've already had attempted assault, we have had attempted kidnapping, it's going to start being murder. It's literally going to lead to that. Let's note how nasty that CEO was talking about poor people food. No, you're right, from the previous video. And then what a good Christian man, right? Like this is the Christianity that our nation needs to represent. So that's happening now. That's wonderful. Oh, this is definitely something I wanted to hear.
Back on ABC News Live with this week's social.
Nursing programs lose professional degree status, threatening access to federal loans. So the Department of Education basically got rid of a lot of medical degrees, a lot of social degrees, and degrees that, like education, that are traditionally held by women, right? So, the Department of Education got rid of those degrees. On top of that, they have duty to report. All of those positions are duty to report positions, right? Meaning, if a child comes to you and says, somebody touched me, you have to report that. Or if you say, I want to hurt myself, they have to report that, right? So all of these positions where victims or people who are trying to commit harm to themselves or others have to be reported by have now been designated non-professional, which gets rid of that designated status. Which, all of this coming right on the coattails of the release of the Epstein files and the sheer amount of people who are going to be doxxed for this, it's not a good look, to say the least.
Story. That's where we post 3 stories on our social media and let you pick one for us to take a deeper dive into. This week's choices: U.S. Department of Education responding to reports they say falsely claim the agency excluded nursing in its revamped definition of professional degree programs. The latest: Real Housewives of Potomac star arrested and accused of stealing thousands in furniture, and where and how to save for Turkey Day. And with 54% here of the vote, you chose nursing no longer being considered a professional degree by the Department of Education. Now, while there's a lot of buzz and concern online and within the medical field, ABC News received a statement by the DOE dismissing reports that it's reclassified or excluded nursing as a professional degree program, saying, quote,
that is unequivocally false because it's directly impacting my sister and her colleagues. It is literally impacting them right now. So that is a patently false statement by the Department of Education.
The department did not update the federal definition of professional degree to exclude nursing, going on to say the definition never included it. Meanwhile, the American Association of Colleges of Nursing...
Oh, they said nursing was never considered professional.
Nursing says the Trump administration's attempt to implement several measures outlined in the president's One Big Beautiful Bill will limit the loans student nurses can access. Anjali Kamlani is here to break this all down. Anjali,
again,
thank you.
Attacking professionals seeking to enter into the medical profession, which is starving for personnel, and then making it less accessible financially to get into those programs.
So much for joining me. Can you clear up some of the confusion here and how it got to this point?
Yeah, we know that, of course, the medical professions have been really pressured in recent past, especially because of the shortage of doctors. And what that's really put is the spotlight on nurses to kind of pick up the slack, if you will. They've been doing more. They've been fighting to do more state by state. There have been, ways to include and equalize the work and recognize the work that nurses do in clinical settings. And this is why this got triggered into such a hot button issue, because it almost created a step backwards in that fight. For years, we've seen burnout, especially in the post-pandemic era, where nurses now saying about 60% of those, according to the American Nurses Association, of nurses are claiming to feel burnt out. And that trend has continued. We've been seeing over the years that trend. And so the reason why this is important is because if they are disincluded from that list, then it really limits the opportunity for nurses to get licensed and then therefore to earn better. And so you're looking at being put in sort of the general professional category rather than this specialized category. And so that limits their tuition loan amounts. And that's really going to put more pressure if fewer nurses decide to get licensed.
Now, Anjali, where does this leave the states? And how does this affect health professionals in rural parts of the country? Because they're getting affected so much more than other areas of the country.
Yeah, this actually puts even more of a spotlight on that, because as I was explaining about the nurses taking on more of a role, that's especially where they do more states where they have large.
So I know I need to talk more about the videos, otherwise it gets copyright. But suffice to say, what she's talking about, how it's going to discourage people entering into nursing programs. And by not being licensed, it's just a general professional program, which means incomes are going to be slashed or reduced or suppressed from either existing nurses or those who are trying to enter the field. And then you also have the further issue of, if these are no longer professional degrees, is it going to be a certificate program? Like, what is the training then? What are the requirements to become a nurse? And those are going to be then eroded and they're going to be lessened. And that means nurses who do pass whatever criteria it ends up being are going to be at a significantly lower standard than the existing nurses. But those nurses are going to be pushed out of the career fields because they're not going to get the pay or the benefits or the support that they need or are used to getting. And that is going to dramatically impact rural places, which rely on nurse practitioners, because physicians aren't going to go to BFE, Kentucky and get paid $80,000 when they could go to the big city and get paid $400,000. So that's where this is leading into.
Larger rural areas have really pushed to give nurses more responsibility and more authority on patient care in the past several years. And so if nurses are unable to get those degrees and to move out to or work in these rural areas, that's going to put even more pressure on the ability for individuals to get care in these areas. And so this is really just exacerbating an existing issue.
So what do these new rules say about what students can borrow or the costs future students could face?
Right. So if they were allowed to be part of this list, they could borrow up to $200,000, and so they would be pushed back to $100,000 for the total degree. Now that does fall into the category for some smaller areas. Lower cost could fall into that category, but there are areas of the country where schooling does cost more, and so the annual cost does add up, so that for the whole degree, they would have to borrow up to or close to $200,000. And so this really puts a damper on sort of where you'll see folks being able to get their degrees if they're not included in this category.
All right, Angelique Hemlani.
So they're still going to require nurses to get a degree, but they're going to make it financially impossible to do so. And I don't know about you, but I don't know about too many rich people who want to wipe the asses of the elderly or the sick or the infirm, or draw blood or do culture testing or any of that nonsense that nurses deal with. So why would you then try and push out the poor from a field that they are actively and enthusiastically engaging in, while we already have a professional crisis in the medical field to begin with? Like, this is, again, there are very little things that this administration has done that aren't going to have years-long ramifications to our country. For instance, if we lose all of the professionals that we would otherwise be getting over the next 3 years, because it's almost 2026, then that literally means we are going to have a 3-year gap of medical professionals. And all of the consequences of that fact. A 3-year gap of nurses, nurse practitioners, RNs, LPNs, phlebotomists, whatever. Because they're no longer considered professional. A 3-year gap of an industry that is already struggling is going to have decades-long ramifications, even if I can fix it day one, because that's still going to require 4 years of training to fix. So we're actually going to have a 7-year gap, probably a decade-long gap, because of this decision. Because you figure you do your training, your 4 years of training, and then your on-the-job experience, and then maybe a year or two to actually get situated in your job, which is typically, what, from graduation to where you're comfortable, probably 3 years. So we're going to lose 3 years, then we're going to lose another 4 years by retraining everybody, and then we're going to lose most of 3 years as those people who graduate become the first generation of newly trained nurses. 10 years of a setback, meaning well into my second term is when this medical professional problem will start to be resolved. Not resolved, begin to be resolved. at the 7th year if I get 2 terms as president. That is a disturbing fact. That is a disturbing, and that's also going to affect educators, so that's teachers. It's going to affect social workers. Again, we have set back all of our social services and humanitarian programs by at least a decade. At least a decade. Because you can't make up for lost time. I mean, you can. You could just give people the bare necessities and send them out the door, and then we're back to square one, which is what they are doing. They are pushing out. They are pumping out nurses left, right, and center and sending them into the field not prepared. And teachers and God knows what else. So these decisions are going to have at least a decade-long impact. And we can argue that it's probably going to be at least a generation, at least 18 years worth of impact, because that first generation that is fully functional is barely going to have the experience necessary to train the next generation by the time they're spun up, right? So you're going to have the blind leading the blind for at least another 10 years on top of that. Sure, you're going to have your veteran nurses, you're going to have your veteran nurse practitioners out and about already. But over the course of 10 years, how many of them are going to retire? How many of them are going to seek other jobs? How many of them are going to cross-train into something else, whether it's in the medical field or whatever else? So, yes, we have a cadre of licensed, trained, correctly professional nurses. But in the next 10 years, we can easily see that number shrink. And then that number is going to be the elite nursing to try and help the decade of behind nurses. It's going to be a shit show. Mark my words, one day Red Overlord is going to need a nurse, and I hope they tell him to call a professional. Yeah, I mean, the GOP is going to... people generally... And that's the problem. It's not like it's just one group that's going to suffer from this. All of us. This country is going to suffer for 10 years because of decisions made this year. And that's just the reality. DOE even says teachers aren't professionals in that department they get their degree from. Exactly. Something that actually matters. Of course they'll deny it. We need more nurses. We should normalize having checkups by nurses rather than doctors. They are often just as capable or even more capable and are usually the ones performing the checkup in the first place. And then the doctor's like, yep, I agree with that. And then goes away and cashes a big stinky check. Putting dollar signs on becoming a helper, for shame. The administration is fucking rural areas again. And they wonder why people go on food stamps. It should be illegal to make them suffer. 100%. Meanwhile, we have butt wipes who have no experience in these targeted to be not professional areas in cabinet positions for Red Overlord. 100%. The sad part is it all landed at a point where in 10 years, I'll be in my 50s. Way to go. You made more crap to look forward to. Exactly. I'll be in my 40s. That's when my body is going to really start falling apart on me. And that's the thing. With all of these advances in science, we keep forgetting that general population care requires a general healthcare program. All of these curing this, that, and the other would still require a large number of nurses to deliver and distribute that medicine or those cures, right? So no matter how you slice it, we can be innovative and on the cutting edge of science, but if we can't deliver it, then it doesn't fucking matter. So, something to look forward to, I guess, over the next 10 years.
This is big because as soon as tomorrow, the Supreme Court could say whether it will hear an appeal that could redefine birthright citizenship. Justices met Friday at their private weekly conference, considering...
Do we have a video on whether or not they did? Well, that's good. Holy shit. So they did not meet. At least the Supreme Court isn't completely in Trump's pocket. All right. Thank God. Hey, broken clock. At least they came through where it mattered. Because that would have made the nursing crisis over the next 10 years look like a mild inconvenience, considering ICE is targeting undocumented migrants. Imagine if you're a dissenter and the department in charge of citizenship yanks your citizenship, calls ICE on you, and then you're like, I'm an American citizen. What the fuck are you talking about? I was born and raised here. And they're like, according to the Department of Citizenship, you're not.
Now that the government shutdown is over, airports, air traffic control, they are fully staffed and ready for this holiday rush. And this weekend marks the start of it all with a record 31 million people expected to fly through December 1st, with the Sunday after Thanksgiving as the busiest day in the skies, according to Airlines for America. Now, American Airlines tells us that they're operating close to 81,000 flights over the holiday period. That's, of course, more than last year. United is looking about 6.6 million passengers. They're breaking a Thanksgiving record. If you are flying, we always say this: expect crowds at your top hubs like Atlanta, Chicago, Dallas, Charlotte, LAX, and of course right here in New York City. And remember, as Samara pointed out, weather could still pose a challenge. On the ground, 73 million people will take that road trip to Thanksgiving dinner. That's up 1.3 million from last year. But gas prices looking pretty good. They're holding steady, hovering around $3 per gallon right now. Overall, with so many people traveling, timing is everything. Try not to head out on Tuesday and Wednesday.
Okay. I guess this isn't bad news. I don't know that this is extreme worthy, but yeah. Hey, if you're traveling, be safe out there. Well, true. Our aviation industry is still also suffering. I wonder if they're going to start claiming that avionics professionals are no longer professionals. Oh, good grief. Oh, here we go.
All right, let's get to
last one,
this
the fun one.
This is
I don't know. I normally don't try and listen to a lot of breaking points, like the most of their video, because they're usually long. But it's our last 30 minutes, and a lot of our remaining videos are well, I guess interesting, but not necessarily like hard-hitting politics. This is like the last major politics for today.
a fun one. And let me give some credit to Elon. This was, meanwhile, all of our DMs are fucked, but we did get one good new feature out of X/Twitter, which is they created the ability to see where all of these accounts are actually based. And lo and behold, a bunch of these large MAGA accounts that really kind of came out of nowhere after Elon took over Twitter. They are, they're in Bangladesh, they're in Nigeria, they're in India, etc. Daily Beast did a write-up. I saw NBC News had a write-up this morning as well. And we go ahead and put this slideshow up on the screen. A slideshow of a bunch of the different accounts here.
Wait a second. So there's an Ivanka Trump fan account that's verified, but is actually based in Nigeria. That's wild. And then MAGA Nation, which has almost 400,000 followers, Eastern Europe. Wow. Alrighty then.
Have foreign origins. So you can see here, MAGA Nation is one of the ones that is based overseas. You've got this Ivanka Trump news account as well that is apparently based overseas. Let's go ahead and see the next one as well. Ultra MAGA, this one's in Nigeria since November 2025, very recent. Let's put the next one up on the screen. Defiant L's, this one I'm very familiar. I see this one all the time, based in Japan. Asuka Groiper in New Zealand. Dark MAGA, based in Thailand. Apparently joined in June from the UK. Got another one here, registered nurse, 6 years with an NGO in Africa. They say that this person just changed her bio to claim she's an American nurse in Africa after it was exposed that her account is based in Nigeria. We got any more of these guys? I think that might be the last one. Oh, no, we got another one. Emma Brunette, under Trump, we saw historic growth and prosperity. I'm ready for a repeat in 2024, based in West Asia. So pretty extraordinary. I mean, I think basically what happened here is...
It's crazy, too. They found Miss Gazangas, who's in West Asia, who's been around since 2011. Like, these are all fake accounts. It's probably some middle-aged, fat, slovenly... Trump, Trump, with a picture of this hot brunette. Probably not even a real brunette. Probably an AI picture, no less.
Elon made it possible to, to create accounts on Twitter and to make money off of them. And so you had a bunch of people from the developing world where, a little bit of money goes a long way. Or like, hey, I can get in on this game. Let me go in and jump into American politics and say all these very sort of like tribal, reactionary, and inflammatory things, get a ton of clout and a ton of attention. And it was a successful model. A bunch of these accounts grew up and became quite significant, and Elon pumped them into all of our feeds. And on the one hand, Sagar, on the serious side of this, because this is all, pretty amusing to watch unfold, on the serious side of this, it does beg questions about the way we're perceiving our own politics when you have these large accounts that are just basically foreign bots. On the other hand, if the sort of like...
the whole talking about foreign influence, right, in our politics, literally, the foreign politics is driving the fascist movement in America. People aren't that hateful, as it turns out. All of these groups are from other countries, and they are manipulating the American discourse. Like, you want to talk about foreign influence on American politics? Never mind AIPAC, which buys our politicians. So, okay, maybe you do need to worry about them, but Russia this, China that, you literally have the entire, most of Africa into the Middle East and West Asia just regurgitating right-wing rhetoric into American streams, feeds, and driving the cult-like support of Trump, of MAGA, of white nationalism, of Christian nationalism. That's foreign influence. And Twitter proved it. Like, Twitter revealed it for the whole world to see. The fact that Twitter is not being considered a national security threat at this point is a testament to his influence still in the government. But that's just so much more evidence that Musk and all these people are in cahoots to undermine the American government and are blatantly manipulating American news and perception. Let's see. I heard they had to take that location thing away because Team Red had the foreign actors. That would be why. She wants money sent to her. She does. We were right. Mamdani is placing corporation in his housing authority. Yeah. Well, we knew that Mamdani was probably not all he was cracked up to be. It's just really unfortunate that it ends up being that way. He's bringing corruption to his administration. Zoran forgot all about what he campaigned on immediately after getting elected. Crazy, right? This is why I don't get my political facts from a social media website. Well, that's also why I don't follow content creators that are political. That's why I, to this day, don't listen to or watch Hassan. And why Breaking Points I take with a grain of salt, but they at least focus on reporting a lot. So, and they pull information from other syndicated news networks, even if those networks themselves are biased. I must be good at blocking because I don't see those people. Well, neither do I. But I think, again, it's about the feed and the algorithm. If you find yourself in the Red Wing algorithm, those people probably come up all the time. But if you're not in that algorithm, you'll never come across them. I'm not saying Hassan isn't good. I'm just saying, like, I don't even listen to Hassan. Team Red is mad at Zoran, but for all the wrong reasons. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. They don't realize yet, but Zoran is one of their allies, as it turns out. So.
energy and division wasn't there to begin with, these accounts would not have been nearly as successful in growing in the way that they did. Now, of course, there's a lot of algorithmic feeding and all of that as well, but they seized on this very divisive moment in American politics and just blew it up.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's interesting about this is at the very beginning, I called it. I said, this monetization is bad. Like in general, paying for verification, paying for boosting in the algorithm.
Right. Because if you can pay for verification, if you can pay for credibility, you can do whatever the hell you want. I can go on my Twitter account right now, pay the $8, change my picture to George W. Bush or Jeb Bush, and start a Jeb Bush account. And be based as fuck doing it. And there is nothing Jeb Bush could do about it. Literally nothing. Just for the sake of argument. I've never watched his videos. Hassan is playing Dispatch on Twitch right now. Must be nice to have 40,000 viewers at any given time. And you can just play video games instead of having to beat your head against the desk for politics. Also, the people in Breaking Points are actual journalists. No, that is true. They were all at some point employed as journalists and decided to band together because of, again, the bias in traditional reporting.
Invites every grifter in the world to try and to elevate, literally every grifter in the entire world to try and to elevate or create some sort of divisive politics. I'm not saying the original system was fair. I'm just saying this system is much worse, and it's obvious. It's terrible. What it has done has basically created all of these like actual fake news accounts, which just tweet complete distorted bullshit, and you've created this entire ecosystem of so-called influencers or whatever. They're all doing this for cash. And I mean, I've been open about this. I can actually even check right now to see how much money that I've earned from Twitter over the last like 2 years. I think in all total, it's like $12,000 or $13,000. I'm not going to say that it's not a lot of money. However, as you and I know, Crystal, in terms of YouTube, in terms of like literally any other social media platform, I would be roughly like 10 to 20 times better off doing something on those platforms than on Twitter. That's part of the reason why it makes more sense that all of these accounts are based in the third world, because that's actually a lot of money over there. Over here, we couldn't even turn the lights on or whatever in our studio in terms of for like a month if we wanted to. So just to be transparent again in terms of the amount of money, and I have a fine account, a couple like 500,000 followers or something like that. They don't even have that, but they're like out here like going for pennies. The point, though, is that monetization, and specifically monetization for attention on Twitter specifically, was entirely engineered around whipping up like certain types of politics and going after like very specific niche groups. And it does actually make you question how much of what you see is real. I mean, under the previous regime, there was all this concern about bots and about foreign influence. I mean, look, as you said, credit where it's due. You did reveal that a lot of this stuff, a lot of these people are actually straight up foreigners.
So, I mean, but that's exactly what we were talking about, is that there's all this brouhaha about foreign influence and bots and this, that, and the other. And in reality, they are there, the foreign influence and the bots, but for the right wing. And it's like, now all of a sudden, we got to sweep it under the rug. So it's like every complaint, every siren call or whatever else that the Republicans make is literally a confession. It's literally a confession. It's just a matter of time of whether it will be proven or not. It's just a matter of time. Crystal ran for office back in 2010 and got screwed because of some pic of her wearing a sexy outfit for Halloween. And she was with her husband at the time in the picture. Yeah, so, I mean, I guess she could run again now with a full-on OnlyFans account and get support because of it, which is awesome. Go for it. Run. Let's see. Every protest and rally I go to, I point people to your campaign website. Oh, thanks. Actually, yeah. We are ordering flyers, but we're not going to send you flyers because of the shipping costs, but we can send you the flyer documents. And if you have a way of printing them, or if you can coordinate with a group that could print them, you can print them locally. I heard a commercial where this one girl said she's AI and it was about world hunger or something. Yeah, see, and that's getting worse too, is that they're integrating AI into actual content. Granted, right now they're doing disclosures, but pretty soon that's not even going to be the case. Okay, so they have FedEx. Yeah, so maybe I'll add that to the website. Just a way to download these different flyers, and you can just whichever one you want and download them. So let me add that to my notes of things that I need to do. All right. So, what time is it? Oh, we got 10 minutes left. Okay. So yeah, we could actually spend a lot of time talking about that, but let's see. How do we want to end the show today? Well, this just seems interesting.
Nightmares. We've all had them. You wake up breathing fast, heart beating, maybe a little sweaty. But why do we have such bad dreams at all? And is there a better way to control them, even harness them in order to improve our lives? In her new book, Nightmare Obscura, A Dream Engineer's Guide Through the Sleeping Mind, sleep researcher and University of Montreal assistant professor Michelle Carr explains what causes dreams and nightmares, their evolutionary purpose, and why all phases of sleep are so important to our waking lives. And Michelle joins us in studio now. Michelle, great to have you. You know, as humans, we're so fascinated by dreams and nightmares. Why do scientists believe we even developed the ability to dream?
In many ways, we think that dreaming is helping us to basically process our waking life experiences. We see that in dreams, we're often incorporating recent memories, but making links between recent memories and other things that we've experienced in the past. And we think it's kind of showing us this kind of filing system that our brain is organizing our memory and organizing our autobiography, which is going to help us to face the coming day.
And in the book, you explain that our dreams often involve events from real life. Things that scare us, like failing a test you mentioned, showing up to work wearing inappropriate clothing, being chased. How does it help us, though, in our waking lives?
Right, yeah, it's specifically things that are more stressful or emotional that tend to show up in dreams. And we think that this is helping us in multiple ways. In part, it's actually helping us to kind of digest the emotion of the experience.
So wait, if I have a nightmare that I went to work naked, does that mean I went to work naked and I forgot? And we're trying to process that? Or is it saying that I feel naked and vulnerable emotionally when I go to work and that I'm trying to process that? Not where I thought this video was going to go. And she's from Montreal, which is in Canada. That's not American news. That would be Worldwide Wednesdays. The fact he has all of the issues and his stances on them and his whole plan laid out on one website really helps. I've had many people tell me that after checking out Sam's website that they think he is someone they can put their support and vote behind. Hey, then they should freaking donate to the campaign. We desperately need support. Buy swag! Like, damn! Do I need to make a flyer that says, buy my shit, losers? No, just kidding. Well, that is good. I mean, that is definitely reassuring that people like what they're seeing. I'll take that. I'll take that win. Okay. That's not how I wanted to close our thing here. I don't want to end on that note either. Oh, dang. All right.
We are joined now by Nicholas Eberstadt, who's the author of...
We're going to talk about the male loneliness pandemic.
The new essay collection called Human Arithmetic. Very, very interesting new book. Nicholas Eberstadt, thank you so much for joining us here on Breaking Points this morning. We appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, of course. I wanted to start with a section here from the introduction of the book, where you talk about how
So wait a second. Young men are in Great Depression, and we have someone who's very much so not a young man writing the book?
Damage from America's men without work problem, which you have written extensively on, quote, radiates outward. Their unnatural condition makes for slower economic growth, wider income and wealth gaps, increased welfare dependency, reduced social mobility, more fragile families, and a weaker civil society. And you go on, make some really interesting points here, but I wanted to ask that in the context of this news report. We can put this from Wall Street Journal up on the screen. The headline here: companies predict 2026 will be the worst college grad job market in 5 years. And I thought this was a good place to start, Nick, because you've been following this particular problem.
So, yeah, you're right. We should pick one of the cutesier videos. We can digest this on Thursday. But this just goes to show that our economy has been in shambles for a while, and that it is getting worse and worse and worse as the years go on, because we continuously attack education in this country and undermine it every single day, every single month, no matter which party is in office. And apparently it was the worst in COVID era 2020, but it's increasing and rapidly. It's like it's doubling. From just 1 year, it's doubling. Like, that's not a good sign. So, well, okay, this isn't cutesy, but it's kind of cutesy. But we'll end on this one.
New warnings about toys that contain AI chatbots. This might look like a cute plush doll, but sales of Kuma Teddy have now been suspended after researchers found the bear openly discussed sexually explicit and dangerous content with kids, including how to light a match.
Hold the matchbox with one hand.
When prompted, the bear also telling them where to find a variety of potentially dangerous objects, including knives, pills, matches, and plastic bags. The bear, which sold for $99 online, integrates OpenAI's chatbot.
We just have no idea what these AI toys are going to do to a child.
No. I am a game creator. I have created what would be considered toys. And I have proof. Right? I have the game mat, and I have the cards. Right? I got the cards right here in sleeves. So, right? The cards. Yeah? Card game you can play, right? So, I know for a fact there are federal regulations on determining whether or not a game can be marketed to kids. And that if you are going to market it to kids, you have to get it approved. And that it is an expensive process on top of that. Which is why my game is 14 plus, because you don't have to get it approved if your game is for 14 plus. So if you're selling a toy marketed to children under the age of 14, you have to go through an approval process. And that process can get quite rigorous. And I don't know if I still have the link saved, but for now, Jesus. Okay. Children's Toy Federal Approval Process. Toy Safety Guidelines, CPSC. The material, flammability, toxicology, electric, sound-producing toys, small objects, accessible edges, project wires, the list goes on, right? And then there's these different standards, the different laws, ASTFM. I guess it's changed a little bit. I guess this is the most recent one. But, how to use the regulatory robot for children's toy training example. It's rigorous. So how did the AI chatbot, unedited, make it past all of that scrutiny? And the fact that it's just the chatbot and not even an offshoot of the chatbot, because in the chatbots you can train it to do your own thing and then it'll just be based on that. It's almost like creating your own AI, but not at all. It's like getting a Lego set, and instead of building the thing that the Lego set was supposed to be, you build your own thing. It's still the same Lego pieces, right? But the fact that they just ChatGPT, children's toy, connect to the internet. What? That is insane. That is insane. And it's $100? The bear is creepy looking. That was one of the cute videos you were talking about. Just remember when D&D first came out all those years ago, the mainstream society slammed it in the church and actively ran campaigns to try and stop kids from playing it. And when Tickle Me Elmo turned into Stop Touching Me Elmo. Yeah, no, but see, with the D&D, like, there was no justification that that wasn't for kids. Like, it is for kids. It's math rocks. And depending on, like, I think D&D didn't, like, write explicit content in the books. It's just math rocks, right? But this is so much worse than that. Like, this is actively harmful because ChatGPT can and will tell you dangerous information. That's insane. Okay. So, that does, however, bring us to the end of the stream. So, first and foremost, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for participating and joining. My name is Samuel Ronan. We stream Tuesday through Thursday, 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern. And we cover a wide variety of topics between my political campaign, sometimes my selfless or shameless self-promotion of Esoterra, but largely and mostly we talk about politics from the lens of a candidate and someone who has been in politics for over a decade. So Tuesdays we talk about U.S. policies, Wednesdays we talk about foreign policies, and on Thursdays we do a recap. And depending on if we start getting financially successful, we might start integrating some fun days as well, so it's not just bleak browbeating of world news. So, once again, thank you all. Tomorrow is Wednesday, right? So it's Worldwide Wednesday. Thanksgiving's coming up, so if you are traveling tomorrow and you're not going to be here, please be safe. The weather is crazy. Traffic is crazy. Everything's crazy, right? So just be safe if you're traveling. Otherwise, see you tomorrow. So on that note, Samuel Ronan, your president, out.